From the high plains of the Midwest, I bid you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever your time zone might be. My nod to the late and great Art Bell. I'm Keith Sharp.
And I'm G. Dressel.
And we welcome you to Life After Life, a paranormal webcast where we talk about the paranormal, UFOs, or the unexplained. And the biggest question of them all, what happens when we die? Stay tuned.
We're back. The best intro of all time.
Yeah, that was the best intro. We're using
unbelievable.
Unfreaking believable. So let's go.
It's almost a year.
Yeah. So besides just us three, if there's anybody, I'm now using StreamYard, not OBS. StreamYard is much easier, but the thing is I can't see how many people are watching the show. So I don't know if there's anybody out there or not. So now I understand why all those people go, let's wait a little bit and then see if someone shows up.
I'm reading like 45 people in there.
No, you're not.
I'm just kidding.
Freaking liar. Freaking liar.
I'm so glad to be back in here.
Yeah, but there's no one watching.
Everyone's going to watch.
They'll watch the replay, right?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Pam, did you click on from the Facebook link?
No, I did YouTube.
Hey, there's JD. There's someone. Hey, from Half Moon Bay, California.
Cool. Hey,
right on, Patrick. All right, good.
What's up, Pat?
Guys, show me you're here because, like I said, I on this new system, I can't see how many people are there. Hey, Savannah, you're on vacation with your mama. Hope you're having fun.
Half Moon Bay, California.
Yeah. Where's that at?
I think that's where the big waves are.
Dude, totally.
I've been kind of learning about some big wave surfing lately.
Have you? You're going to start surfing?
No, I would love
to.
You
have to leave Oklahoma.
Yeah. No. I was just talking to this guy. He was just in Half Moon Bay.
Half Moon Bay.
Homie. Yeah, dude. Yeah. And he said it was a much better feed in his opinion.
Yeah. How is the feed, guys?
I likes it.
I got rid of the OBS.
Get rid of that.
I couldn't delete it fast enough.
We're taking this to the next level.
We are taking this to the next level.
We're coming up on the year anniversary. Year 2 is going to be massive.
We still got a couple of months.
We do.
October. You know, I finally looked back and we started in October and we had our first live show on the 31st.
Right.
On Halloween.
Yeah.
Which we're going to do.
Should we say 31st is our birthday?
31st is. Birthday? Yeah, that's what I would say because that's when we officially went live.
Right.
My cousin stupidly talked me into going, hey, why don't you guys do live?
So glad. Thank
Instead
you.
of shooting videos or just doing the recordings.
This is so much better.
It's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
So, okay, now look, now this popped up. We have 5. Come on.
Dude, I love it. Really quick, I just love how Pat is. He's like the silver tongue. He's always got something funny to say. He's
next to Full Moon Bay. Dun, 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 dun. Yay.
That was a good one, man.
That was good. Okay, I'm going to give everybody a few minutes because we are on a different day. So sometimes people are.
The Mavericks, man.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So now we just lost somebody. Someone just left. They got tired.
That's okay. Hey, JD, go HBO Max and watch The 100-Foot Wave. It's a remarkable documentary. Go check it out.
Really?
Yeah, dude, it's unbelievable. I'm obsessed.
Okay, well, we'll get started with our 3 people.
Dude.
It's funny because it says 4, and I know you're in the chat room, so you're one of them.
Yeah.
And if Pam's in there, okay, then now we got 2.
We got it
just dropped. Okay, what do we do this?
Hey,
because we have fun.
Speak in your YouTube voice. Do your YouTube voice real fast.
The YouTube voice.
Today we're going to be talking about disappearances.
Oh yeah. It's funny because I watch these other shows, and people who get like 17,000 views in like a matter of 5 hours, and they're all like, and so the next time we went there, then we saw this big bear, and this big bear was coming out. And I'm like, that's so boring.
Yeah.
I think we're interesting.
We're fun.
Oh no, we lost another one.
That's okay.
I got to quit looking at the number of people watching. But anyway, guys, thanks for showing up. You 3. You won because 2 of them. Good night, everybody.
Hey, I think what you'll notice though is while Keith is looking at the numbers, I'm always intently looking into his eyes, engaging in this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like in it with Keith.
Yeah, you are.
Then he's over here dogging our show.
No,
I just have to throw this out there real quick, guys. The setting is amazing. Who did that?
Absolutely. Oh
That's
yeah.
just remarkable.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
God.
background. I
Yeah.
don't think they noticed.
Yeah.
No, Pam redid the background. I did a short little. I came on live not too long ago, about a few days ago, just to show everybody the new set. Plus, I wanted to test StreamYard to see how it worked, and it's working a whole lot better than the other one.
Just feels good in here.
So, and we got the haunted doll. This
right
way.
there.
So if you guys see this doll, everything's backwards when I'm looking in the monitor. If this doll moves during the show, let me and Garrett and Pam know.
Yeah, because didn't you get that from the museum, the haunted museum?
Yeah, haunted
you bought that
museum.
from what's his name?
Yeah. John
Sapphic.
Zaffis.
yeah.
John Zaffis.
Thank you, John
Yeah.
Zaffis, for sending us that.
Yeah. Don't listen to Garrett. Okay, well, first of all, let's welcome back. Let's welcome Garrett back.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be back, dude.
Man, I'm so glad you didn't have COVID.
I know.
I was really worried about that.
RSV kicked my butt though.
RSV is really not a good alternative.
It's
No.
not- yeah, it was horrible.
No, it's not. And you're not contagious at all, right?
No,
Okay,
no,
good,
yeah.
good.
No, we quarantined. Feeling way better.
Yeah. You
We're
guys.
just really glad to be back.
How are the
in here.
kids doing?
Great. Everyone's
Because
great.
both of them. Everybody take a COVID test? And
2.
Everybody's healthy now.
Yep.
huh?
Yep. Everyone's good to go.
Sweet.
I want to ask Pam how she's doing. She works all the time. Patrick says, "Tell that doll I hate it." I know it's got a creepy look on his face.
I'm not sure if it's like happy.
I did her makeup
or-
special.
Let me
Mischievous.
let me tell you guys something. What Pam originally wanted to do with this doll is she had a noose, a
Wow.
real
Wasn't a
rope.
noose.
Well, you had a rope, and she wanted this doll like hanging by its neck.
Oh my god!
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
okay, YouTube would get rid of us probably in a
Well,
heartbeat.
and we also, you talk a lot about conjuring things. We just don't want to conjure.
No, we
anything.
don't.
So we set it up there, nice and easy.
It's actually a sweet little doll.
the
yeah.
doll is actually 100% harmless. It's just a
So
little
far.
something.
It did
that-
not come from John
no,
Zaffis.
it did not. I did upgrade her makeup a little bit to add
Good.
to the setting, but that's it. She has no dark history of any kind.
Not yet.
Unless it gets us more ratings than it does.
Yeah.
Well, that's
No, I'm
true.
just teasing.
Hey, Tuesday's gonna be cool.
Oh yeah, Tuesday, guys. We are
Brandon
having-
Burton.
Well, go ahead, tell him about Brandon.
Brandon Burton.
And he's a
He's a medium.
psychic
Psych-
medium.
Is he a psychic medium?
He's a psychic
He's
medium.
a psychic medium.
Yeah,
Hey, the guy.
He's gonna be doing free readings.
The guy's ridiculous.
yeah,
I mean, he's good.
yeah. I watched a couple of things.
Right? Yeah, he is on point.
He's right on the money. So if you guys,
and
that's
he's exciting too.
yeah.
He's funny.
So come on, guys. We gotta get more people in the chat room than that. We got to have people calling in. I'm gonna bring him on video.
Hey, Pat, do you follow us on Instagram? JD, do you guys follow us on Instagram? If not, life_afterlife_ the show.
Yeah, and
Go check
Jade
it out.
and all you guys, make sure you subscribe, like, and share, so we can grow this big boy
Absolutely.
or
Hey,
bad boy.
I think Thursday, obviously the reason why we're doing it on Thursday is we felt like we got to get a show in. We got to get back in, do a little bit of practice. Coming into the show, I didn't realize, just like everything, it takes practice, it takes learning, right?
Yeah.
We've learned a lot. And so, this is kind of like getting back in the saddle. So that's why we're going on Thursday.
It is, and we're using new software. So
It's exciting.
how's
trial.
it to you guys to you one guy that's out there, Patrick or two?
Well, you quit saying one.
There's
Okay.
more. Look, it's
One
I
of
know.
them's going to
It's
feel
going up.
slighted.
No, I'm sorry. Nobody feels slighted. Anyway, so let me know how the stream looked. Everything good? And did you read my ticker at the very last? Keith is much cooler than Garrett.
totally true.
Charlie Tool.
I mean, you've had twice the amount of time on this earth to be cooler than me, though, to be fair.
That's just a joke. Just a little sense of humor.
Hey, I'm excited about the show tonight.
Hello, Jamie.
By the way,
Is Gigi out there?
what's up, Jamie?
She's one of our biggest fans from the UK. But it's 1:00 in the morning, I think, there. So
And
she says it's tough to make it. sometimes.
JD says he's only on YouTube, no social. That's fine.
smart.
We're still going to be on YouTube.
They're smart.
Just look for us.
Yeah, and we might, if I think I can actually have a simulcast 2 different platforms like
Cool.
YouTube and Facebook at the same time.
Good.
So that might get us more views. But the
Could
thing
you
is,
sort that out, please? Could you get that
I
done?
can, but here's the deal. I would need someone to monitor Facebook because their chat room's different than YouTube's.
We'll get Cass to do it too.
Oh, Cass will not do that.
Maybe for Brandon, she would. She's so excited about that show, dude.
Oh yeah,
She's a huge fan.
yeah. He's good, man. He's a really good psychic. So,
Louisa,
hey,
125 in the UK. Woo-wee.
good Lord Almighty.
Well, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Louise here. Well, yeah, you got this. That's wow. So we got
It's good to know they have insomnia in the UK as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My
As we do
bedtime,
here.
my bedtime's like 3 a.m.
Yeah, we're
and I
so
still
sad.
get up and go to work. It's just crazy. All right. Well, should we get this show on the road?
Hey, I've been excited about this show. I mean, this is something you and I and Pamela have talked about quite a bit on and off.
Yeah, there's some that's just can't. I mean, the one we're all three going to be covering different disappearances. Mine's a very well-known one, DB Cooper, 1971. I hope you guys remember that or know about it. And if you don't, then you're going to learn something.
Absolutely.
And then you're doing Brian Shaffer.
Brian Schaefer.
Brian
Yeah,
Shaffer.
we'll touch on the Brian Schaefer case. It's
That one's very strange.
super weird, man.
Very much so.
We'll get to speculate on that because there's a lot of room for speculation. Obviously, when CCTV and stuff are involved.
There is.
Always.
There is. Let's see.
Hi, Jamie Reed. Welcome. Says
Okay.
she's new here.
Awesome.
Oh,
Jamie?
Jamie, be sure to subscribe and we'll have 4 people. No, just joking. All right. So anyway, this is DB Cooper. And on Thanksgiving Eve, November 24th, 1971, a middle-aged man carrying a black attaché case approached the flight counter of Northwest Orient Airlines at Portland International Airport. He identified himself as Dan Cooper and used cash to purchase a one-way ticket flight 305, a 30-minute trip to north to Seattle. And guess what that ticket cost back in 1971, Garrett?
What it cost?
$20.
Lucky.
Lucky. So Cooper boarded the aircraft, a Boeing, what is it, Garrett? Do you know? 727.
Sorry.
727. And it has a registration number, which I don't think is that important. And he took a seat 18C. He ordered a drink, a bourbon and soda. So he's a Renaissance man. Eyewitness described the man in his mid-40s wearing a business suit with a black tie and a white shirt. So he was dressed very nicely.
Yeah. Nicely.
But you know, people used to dress, like even going to movies, people used to dress in suits
for
and
sure,
stuff.
yeah. Not anymore.
Not anymore. So Flight 305, and this is 18 pages, people. Flight 305, approximately 1/3 full, departed Portland, and they had 36 passengers, by the way. Departed Portland on a schedule at 2:50 p.m. Pacific time. Shortly after takeoff, Cooper handed a note to Florence Schaffner. She was a flight attendant situated nearest to him in a jump seat attached to the AFT stair door. And the AFT stair door, for you guys who don't know, they're used in, I don't think they have them anymore, but in commercial jets, in the very back of the plane, they had these stairs that came down off the back. And so when you hear me say AFT stairs, that is what I'm talking about. Schaffner, assuming the phone number dropped, hang on, but let me back up. I need a beat button. Okay. Assuming the note contained a lonely businessman's phone number.
All right.
Dropped it, unopened it, and put it into her purse. Cooper leaned toward her and whispered, "Hey, miss, you better look at this note. I have a bomb." The note was printed in neat all capital letters with a felt tip pen. Its exact wording is unknown because Cooper later reclaimed it. He took it with him. That's smart. Evidence.
Very smart.
But Schaffner, I guess it's Schaffner, recalled that it mentioned the bomb and directed her to sit in the seat beside Cooper. Schaffner did as requested, then quietly asked to see the bomb. Cooper opened his briefcase long enough for her to get a glimpse at the 8 red cylinders, 4 on top of the 4, attached to a wire coated with, I need to write better, attached to wires coated with red insulation and a large cylindrical battery. Battery would scare me. I wonder, you think it was fake?
Yeah,
I do
definitely.
too.
Yeah,
I do.
definitely.
After closing the briefcase, he stated his demands: $200,000 in negotiable American currency, 4 parachutes, 2, and on those parachutes, he wanted 2 primary and 2 reserve.
Okay.
And a fuel truck standing by in Seattle to refuel the aircraft upon arrival. Schaffner conveyed Cooper's instructions to the pilot in the cockpit. When she returned, Cooper was wearing dark sunglasses. How about
so
that?
cool.
Nice move.
He's so badass.
Yeah, he's like, all of a sudden,
Yeah, let me throw those shades
let me
on.
put these on. The captain's name was William A. Scott. Contacted Seattle Tacoma Airport Air Traffic Control, which informed local and federal authorities. The 35 other passengers were told that their arrival in Seattle would be delayed because of a minor mechanical difficulty. Now he's telling that, to not frighten people, but that would frighten me.
Oh, of course.
We got a mechanical problem, guys.
Yeah.
So You might
I mean,
as
I
well. You
guess
might
it's
as well
less
tell me. You might as well tell me there is a guy with a bomb in the back of the plane.
It's definitely less frightening than, oh, by the way, there's a guy with a bomb on the plane.
Hey, I don't know, because mechanical failure in air. No, thank you. Don't want any part of that. So the 35 other passengers were told that their arrival in Seattle would be delayed, and Northwest Orange President Donald Nyrop authorized payment of the ransom and ordered all employees to cooperate fully with the hijackers' demands. The aircraft circled Puget Sound, which Garrett loves that place,
Yeah, it's
for
awesome.
approximately 2 hours to allow Seattle police and the FBI sufficient time to assemble Cooper's parachutes, ransom money, and to mobilize emergency personnel. Flight attendant Tina McClough recalled that Cooper appeared familiar with the local terrain. Not that he was familiar to her,
right.
but with the terrain. At one point, he remarked, "Looks like Tacoma down there," as the aircraft flew above it. He also correctly mentioned that McCord Air Force Base was only a 20-minute drive from Seattle-Tacoma Airport. Schaffner described him as a calm, polite, well-spoken, not at all consistent with stereotypes and range of hardened criminals or take me to Cuba type of person,
Right.
popularly associated with air piracy at the time. He wasn't nervous. Muckler told investigators he seemed rather nice. He was never cruel or nasty. He was thoughtful and calm all the time. He ordered a second bourbon and soda. Classy guy. Paid his drink tab, okay,
Good.
and attempted to give Mucklow a tip.
Oh, wow.
Now, how about that?
That's a classy kind of criminal.
Big hand for DB Cooper. Classy dude. That's nice of him. He didn't have to do that.
Cool, man.
He could have just got the drink and said,
Yeah.
did whatever. He
Super
didn't
cool.
give her any money, right? So anyway, let's see. He offered to request meals for the flight crew. How about that? He said, "I want to feed everybody on the plane.
Everybody gets a meal.
Everybody, it's on me." So,
Okay, did they do it?
probably so.
Yeah, I would.
So the FBI agents, they assembled the ransom money from several Seattle area banks. 10,000 unmarked $20 bills, most with serial numbers beginning with the letter L. So you guys, if you've got a bill, because I think it was between 63 and 1969 of the bills, and it has an L on it, keep it.
Let us know.
Let us know, and
Let
we'll
us take care of it.
we'll take care of that for you. That's
we'll
it.
auction it off for 40 grand.
Yeah, and we're getting to where the kid finds the money later, or some of it. And I think he auctioned 2 bills off for $37,000.
And went to college.
And exact. Well, that paid for 1 semester or 1 year. So you need to sell a few more of those. Okay, so anyway, they got the cash together. Like I said, 1963, 1969. They microfilmed it just for evidence. Okay, so at 5:24 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Cooper was informed that his demands had been met, and at 5:39 p.m., more than an hour after sunset, the aircraft landed in Seattle at Tacoma Airport. And I've got a picture of that somewhere right there. I love this program. How about that? Okay, so Cooper instructed Scott to taxi the jet to an isolated, brightly lit section of the apron and close all the window shades in the cabin to deter police snipers. Good thinking.
Yeah, dude.
Because back then, I think they shot people
Sure.
that hijacked planes. Northwest Orient Seattle operations manager Al Lee approached the aircraft in street clothes, and he did that because he was afraid that his uniform might mistake it for a police uniform.
Right.
And get shot. So he went in street clothes and gave the money to him. And he delivered the cash, filled knapsack and parachutes to Mucklow via the AFT stairs, which again is a stairs I told you that are on the back there.
Right.
Okay, so once the delivery was completed, Cooper allowed all the passengers, Schaffner and senior flight attendant Alice Hancock to leave the plane. So now it's just him and the crew members, right? Except for the other 2 flight attendants. During refueling, Cooper outlined his flight plan to the cockpit crew: a southeast course towards Mexico City at the minimum airspeed possible without stalling the aircraft, approximately 100 knots, at a maximum of 10,000 feet altitude. He further specified that the landing gear remain deployed in takeoff landing position and the wing flaps be lowered to 15 degrees and the cabin remain unpressurized. This guy used to be a pilot, I think.
He definitely knew aircraft.
He knew there was aircraft. First Officer William J. Raskak informed Cooper that the aircraft's range was limited to approximately 1,000 miles under the specific flight configuration, which meant that a second refueling would be necessary before entering Mexico. So Cooper and the crew discussed options, and they agreed on they would refuel in Reno, Nevada. As the refueling stopped, that's the place where they're going to stop. Northwest Homes office objected on the grounds that it was unsafe because what he wanted, listen to this, he wanted them to take off though with the AFT stairs down, and there was and the rear exit door open.
Okay.
And so they were
Right.
saying, nah, we can't do that. That's too dangerous. So maybe he didn't know so much about aircraft.
Right.
But anyway, so Cooper countered that it was indeed safe. He said it was safe. So maybe he did know about planes.
Yeah.
But he would not argue the point. He would lower it once they were airborne.
Got it. Yeah, he knew.
An FAA official requested a face-to-face meeting with Cooper aboard the aircraft, which was denied. The refueling process was delayed because of vapor lock in the fuel tanker's truck plumbing mechanism. A second truck was brought in to complete fueling. Man, that's a bad time to have vapor lock.
Man.
Let's see. I think we got some more pictures here. What this plane? Oh, I wanted to show that. Look at this ticket, you guys. Look at the price down there on the lower left side. $20.
$20.
And that's the original ticket. Everything was handwritten back then. Look, at least I had to use a library stamp for November 24th, 1971. At approximately 7:40 p.m., the Boeing 727 took off with only Cooper, Captain Scott, Flight Attendant Mucklow, First Officer Ratzak, and Flight Engineer Harold E. Anderson on board. 2 F-106 fighter aircraft from McCord Air Force Base followed behind the airliner, one above it and one below, out of Cooper's view. A Lockheed T-33 trainer. Now do you know what a Lockheed T-33 is? It's an old World War II plane.
Okay, cool.
Like a jet.
Yeah.
So they had 2 current jets and then another jet, this older jet behind them. Mission also shadowed the 727 before running low on fuel, and the T-33 ended up having to turn back because it was getting low on fuel and had to leave. Right? But that's okay because they had 2 state-of-the-art fighters above him.
Right.
After takeoff, Cooper told Mucklow to join the rest of the crew in the cockpit and remain there with the door closed. As she complied, Mucklow observed Cooper tying something, possibly the.
All right.
Mucklow observed Cooper tying something, possibly the money bag around the waist. At approximately 8 p.m., a warning light flashed in the cockpit, indicating that the AFT air stair apparatus had been activated. Ratzak offered assistance via the aircraft's intercom system, which Cooper refused. This was the last communication the crew had with him. The crew soon noticed a subjective change of air pressure, indicating that the AFT door was open. So I remember reading that they said that they felt the plane jolted.
Right.
And then it went back. So that's the time they say, okay, he must have jumped out of the plane, right? So approximately 8:13, the aircraft's tail section sustained a sudden upward movement large enough to require trimming to bring the plane back to flight level. At approximately 10:15, Scott Ratzak landed the 727 with the air stair still deployed at the Reno airport. And again, I'll let you guys see what we're talking about. This picture here shows the stairs that come down. Now, can you imagine, Garrett, you're, what was it, 20,000 feet in the air, 10,000 feet in the air, and you open that thing.
Oh my God, dude.
Because I'm thinking, wouldn't air just be, I don't know anything about aircraft. So, I mean, you think the air would be going all over the place, but possibly that wasn't the case, right?
Right.
So anyway, FBI agents, state troopers, sheriff's deputies, and Reno police surrounded the jet, as it had not yet been determined with certainty that Cooper was no longer aboard, but an armed search quickly confirmed his absence. FBI agents, recovered 66 unidentified latent fingerprints aboard the airliner. The agents also found Cooper's black clip-on tie.
Latin.
Huh? Latin, I know. Latin. Shut up.
I love you.
That's why we have no viewers. His tie. So he left his clip-on tie. He left 2 of the 4 parachutes, one of which had been opened. Authorities interviewed eyewitness in Portland, Seattle, and Reno. A series of composite sketches was developed. And that's that picture I showed you guys right there. We see. And here's a picture of the plane, and it's pointing to the step up there, kind of halfway, a little bit down. I mean, that's not the actual time that it happened or anything like that. So we will put on. This is the flight crew here. So anyway, local police and FBI agents immediately began questioning possible suspects. One of the first was an Oregon man with a minor police record named D.B. Cooper, contacted by Portland. Now, how stupid would you have to be?
Right.
You know, I wouldn't even. I don't think I even would have questioned that guy.
Yeah.
Say, he definitely isn't it. Contacted by the Portland police on the off chance that the hijacker had used his real name or the same alias in previous crime. He was quickly ruled out as a suspect, you think? But a local reporter named James Long, now this is interesting because this is kind of history, this guy was a newspaper reporter, and rushing to meet an imminent deadline confused the suspect's name with a pseudonym used by the hijacker. So when he wrote his article, he put DB Cooper, and it was actually just Dan Cooper.
Oh, got it.
So
okay.
there's no DB Cooper. That was just because he heard the suspect was
got you, DB Cooper.
Yeah. So they talked to him, and that became the most widely remembered pseudonym of all time. A precise search area was difficult to define, and even small differences in estimates of the aircraft speed or the environmental conditions along the flight path, which varied by location and altitude, changed Cooper's projected landing point considerably. An important variable was the length of time he remained in free fall before pulling his ripcord, if indeed he succeeded in opening the parachute at all. So when I studied this, they say usually they think he dropped about 2,000 feet and then pulled the cord. But how would it was in the dark, it's during a storm, it was cold. I mean,
timing.
You wouldn't, your watch, but you wouldn't be able to see your watch.
Yeah.
They don't think they had lighted watches in 71, did they?
Man, I don't know, but I mean, if he's done it enough times, if he's had a lot of jumps, then he probably just has a, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Internal clock for when to pull that.
It could be. I mean, I guess that's what they had to do in the early wars, right? If indeed he succeeded in opening the parachute at all, and I would say he did. I think he was an air guy.
He did.
I think he was an Air Force man.
And he did.
Yeah, I think so too. Neither of the Air Force fighter pilots saw anything exit the airliner, either visually or on radar, nor did they see a parachute open. But at night, with extremely limited visibility and cloud cover obscuring any ground lighting below, an airborne black-clad human figure could easily have gone undetected.
For sure.
Yeah, so they said that the pilot from the T-33, they said they never saw contact, neither did the other jets.
Right.
So, I mean, how could you see? It would look like, that, and then he's dressed in black. And that's the other thing.
And they're moving fast, dude.
Oh, God, yeah. They're moving fast. The terrain immediately south. Okay, let me read that last part of that sentence.
All right.
Perfect time.
That was great. Maybe I should just take these papers.
Just throw them. Art Bell style.
Art Bell style. Search efforts focused on Clark and Cowlitz counties, encompassing the terrain immediately south and north, respectively, of the Lewis River in southwest Washington. FBI agents, sheriff's deputies from those counties searched large areas of the mountainous wilderness on foot and by helicopter. Door-to-door searches at local farmhouses were also carried out. Other search parties ran patrol boats along Lake Merwin and Yell Lake, the reservoir immediately to its east. No trace of Cooper, nor any of the equipment presumed to have left the aircraft with him was found. Shortly after the spring, you had everything thawed out. So in early 72, teams of FBI agents, aided by some 200 Army soldiers from Fort Lewis, along with the Air Force personnel, National Guardsmen, and civilian volunteers, conducted another thorough ground search of Clark Cowlitz County for 18 days in March, and then an additional 18 days in April. Electronic Exploration Company, a marine salvage firm, used a submarine to search the 200-foot depth of the Lake Merwin.
And?
Man, they're really wanting to find this guy. The submarine in the lake.
Yeah.
Two local women, well, they didn't find him.
It's crazy.
But now this is kind of curious. Two local women stumbled upon a skeleton in an abandoned structure in Clark County. It was later identified as the remains of Barbara Ann Derry, a teenage girl who had been abducted and murdered several weeks before. Wow. Ultimately, the search and recovery operation, arguably the most extensive and intensive in U.S. history, uncovered no material evidence related to hijacking. Okay, and then they decided, Garrett, we're just going to suspend this investigation. We found nothing. Okay.
Right.
So forward to 2016, the FBI announced that it was suspending active investigation of Cooper's case, citing a need to focus its investigation resources and manpower on issues of higher and more urgent priority. Local field offices will continue to accept any legitimate physical evidence related specifically to the parachutes or the ransom money that may emerge in the future. The 60-volume case file compiled over the 45 course of the investigation will be preserved for historical purpose at the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. and on the FBI website. All the evidence is open to the public. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known that. I would look through some of that. 3 major pieces of evidence were found on the plane. A black clip-on tie, and I do have a picture of my.
There it is.
What are you laughing about? What are you showing the tie?
A picture of a clip-on tie.
Hey, well, it's the DB
Yes,
Cooper tie.
it is.
That's important, man. A mother of pearl tie clip, which you can see on there. 8 filtered tipped Riley's cigarette butts, but at some time after the hijacking, his cigarette butts were lost.
God, dude.
You know
How
that
often are we doing a case and that happens?
all the time.
Yeah,
They
especially
lose-
the older ones.
Constantly lose evidence, right? So in November 1978, a placard printed with instructions for lowering the AFT stairs of a 727 was found by a deer hunter near a logging road about 13 miles east of Castle Rock, Washington, well north of Lake Merwin, but within the Flight 305's basic flight path. And somewhere I have that picture. And that's not it. That's not it. You know what? I don't have that picture. I forgot to put it on there. We'll just
That's
put it back on. Yes, it's good. Okay, so and then 1980, recovered ransom money.
9 years.
Dun, dun, dun. I feel like David Letterman, just throwing pages.
Yeah.
On February 10th, 1980, 8-year-old Brian Ingram was vacationing with his family on the Columbia River at a beachfront known as Tina Bar, about 9 miles downstream from Vancouver, Washington, and 20 miles southwest of Ariel. He uncovered 3 packets of the ransom cash as he raked the sandy riverbank to build a campfire. The bills were disintegrated, but still bundled in rubber bands. Huh.
So he had to rake back the dirt to find them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's almost like they're kind of buried, shallow
yeah.
burial. FBI technicians confirmed that the money was indeed a portion of the ransom. 2 packets of $120 bills each, and a third packet of 90, all arranged in the same order as when they were given to Cooper. The discovery launched several new rounds of conjecture and ultimately raised more questions than it answered. Initial statements by investigators and scientific consultants were found on the assumption that the bundled bills washed freely into the Columbia River from one of its many connecting tributaries. An Army Corps of Engineer Hydrologists noticed that the bills had disintegrated in a rounded fashion and were matted together, indicating that they had been deposited by river action as opposed to have been deliberately buried.
Okay, so the river put them there.
That's what it's saying.
Okay.
That conclusion, if correct, supported the opinion that Cooper had not landed near Lake Merwin, nor anywhere near Lewis River, which feeds into the Columbia, well downstream from Tina Bar. It also lent credence to a supplemental speculation that placed the drop zone near the Washita River, which merges with the Columbia upstream from the discovery site. But the free-floating hypothesis presented its own difficulties. It did not explain the 10 bills missing from one of the packets, nor was there a logical reason that the 3 packets would have remained together after separating from the rest of the money. Physical evidence was incompatible with geological evidence.
That's interesting.
That is. Himmelsbach observed that the free-floating bundles would have had to wash up on the bank within a couple of years of the hijacking. Otherwise, rubber bands would have long since deteriorated. An observation confirmed experimentally by the Cooper research team. Geological evidence suggested, however, that the bills arrived at Tina Bar well after 1974, the year of that's
wow.
Do you think, is it possible that Cooper, just messing with people, said, I'm going to go out there and just put a couple of
Do you think after the fact or when
after, like I'm saying, like 3 years, because they found in 70, or the bills were found in 80, but they said from looking at the condition, it was well after 1974.
Man, that's wild.
So
yeah.
He would have been the kind of guy, I think, because he was a daredevil, absolutely a risk taker, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to mess with these people. I got to sit
Let
on
it
this.
wash up.
I got to sit on this money for a while because the banks are looking for it. They
Right.
gave the serial numbers to banks, casinos, racetracks, everywhere.
Right.
So he knew he couldn't spend it right away.
Right.
So, there could be 2 reasons. He could have buried it there just to mess with them, or buried it there and make them think, oh, well, he died. And some of the
Yeah.
money got separated.
I mean, that could definitely. I think the second theory is more likely.
Yeah.
To throw him off to say hey, he probably died. Some of the money washed up. Well, here it is.
Yeah. How funny would that be?
Dude, because they said the river brought it up, right?
Well,
That's what they're saying?
That's one of the theories.
And there's how many bills are
And
missing?
there's other
10?
theories. Yeah, 10. So
He just
that's almost
walking around money.
look, well, I'm not going to give them all of it here.
Yeah.
Take 10 bills out for myself.
This for the tip I left them.
Yeah. Make sure. Yeah, it would be funny if you left a note. Make sure that the flight attendants get this. Yeah, because they wouldn't take. And that's another thing. They wouldn't take his tip.
Assholes.
Yeah, right.
I would.
Yeah, I would too.
It's against company
you'd probably
policy.
be-
They're going to get fired
After the fact, maybe, but I mean, you're probably terrified
Oh, absolutely.
that there's a crazy man with a bomb in his
Yeah,
lap.
you have a bomb, dude.
I know.
What's your tip?
So anyway, geologist Leonard Palmer of Portland State University found 2 distinctive layers of sand and sediment between the clay deposited on the riverbank of the dredge and sand layer in which the bills were buried, indicating that the bills arrived long after dredging had been completed. The Cooper research team later challenged Palmer's conclusion, citing evidence that the clay layer was natural deposit. The finding, if true, favors an arrival time of less than 1 year after the event based on the rubber band experiment, but does not help to explain how the bundles got to Tina Bar, nor from where they came.
And why the bills are missing.
Yeah.
That's the really gets me.
Well, especially you got rubber bands tied around. I mean, how would bills just slide out of that? You know what I mean?
That's so bizarre.
Rubber bands are tight. I could see if it was, the what they use now, that paper kind of adhesive paper they wrap around stacks. But back then, how would that have happened?
Well, and just you feel like if 10 were missing, then more would be missing.
Yeah.
Why just 10?
Yeah. And here's a picture. This is a picture of the money that was recovered. You can see it's pretty worn out, but so I don't know. It would be interesting. I wonder, yeah, he still could have went back, like say 74, did that, and they found it in 80. Yeah.
Safely. He could have safely done that because they had no idea that he's looking out in that forest doing that.
No, not at all. And then here,
they're going to stop you and be like, hey, what's in that bag? Hiker in the forest.
Exactly.
Are you TV Cooper? Yeah.
Exactly. And so here's Tina Bar. This is FBI agents in civilian clothes. They're searching all over now that area for the money. But here's the thing. If you got to think about, they didn't find any more money.
I know.
So that makes it even more suspicious that maybe he went back years later, put it there.
It's a drop in the bucket.
It's a drop.
Because that's what my initial thought is, okay, $2,500 is found, right? Where's the other $197.5 thousand?
Right.
It seems like that would be just loads of cash if he were to fall into the river. Right?
Yeah. It's
or if he's hanging from a tree.
And I hate saying this, but I hope he made it.
I do too.
Because
I don't hate saying it.
Because Garrett actually talked to 2 of his friends here, paratroopers, and they said it's about a 50-50 chance.
Coin toss
that you would survive that. Now we're talking 10,000 feet. We're talking sub below zero temperature
at night.
At night
in a storm,
and it's raining in a storm, and and he's wearing loafers and a suit.
Yeah,
no helmet. So
I feel like he was like a special forces guy. Could just survive.
Well, look, he knew where the air base was and how far it was to drive and everything. So I have a feeling he was once in the Air Force.
Well, and he picked
and he knew about set the flaps to 15 degrees. He knew all that.
And the parachute he picked.
Yeah.
He didn't pick one that he could guide.
And that was smart.
Yeah. He picked one that was gonna be durable.
Right. He was in that. They say he may have been from the World War II era.
Right.
And he was used to that parachute. And then, that makes sense.
Right. Well, and the fact
it's like old guys who I don't like messing with that new technology.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, you want to do if you're going to pull it off, you want it to be something you're comfortable in.
Absolutely. Especially if you're jumping 10,000 feet.
And something that's durable, right? The elements. And that's what one of my guys said is he's like, man, that wouldn't deteriorate overnight either.
Yeah.
Those old parachutes were really durable,
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Your friend was saying it'd last for a long time. Yeah.
So
even if they were doing, like you said, a helicopter search, a low helicopter search over that area,
it's a massive parachute that he had.
That's a big, yeah. They would have saw
the canopy, yeah.
They would have saw it, right?
Right, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Grab a drink here, yeah. So, man, interesting. So anyway, more recent analysis of diatoms found on the bill suggests that the bundles found at Tina Bar were not submerged in the river or buried dry at the time of the hijacking in November 1971. Only diatoms that bloomed during the springtime were found, placing the date range around the money entered the water at least several months after the hijacking.
Wow.
He went back.
I'm
telling you, he went back.
He went back.
Little booger.
DB, that little booger. That little booger.
That rascal.
Him and Junior went back.
And Junior. Okay, so alternative hypotheses were, here's some of them. Some surmise that the money had been found at a distant location by someone or possibly even a wild animal carried it to the riverbank and buried it there.
It wasn't a wild animal. You know what it was.
It's
It's
Sasquatch.
a squat.
Squatch. That's the only animal I know that could bury.
He's like, let me bury this for.
So that ties in with the whole paranormal podcast thing.
Yeah.
So Sasquatch found the money. He buried it, right?
Did he mark it with
But-
sticks or anything? Because Sasquatch likes to give sticks as presents.
Yeah, exactly. And then he took a tree and knocked on it to let the other Bigfoots know, I found money. I found money. No, I don't. Yeah. When I read that, I laughed out loud. It was, possibly even a wild animal.
You LOL'd.
Yeah. Buried the money.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So the sheriff of Cowlitz County or Hazard County proposed that Cooper accidentally dropped a few bundles on the air stair, which then blew off the aircraft and fell into the Columbia River. I don't believe that.
He took 10 bills out.
Yeah. No way. And because he made sure that was secure.
Oh, yeah.
They said they
definitely.
saw him tying and stuff. I bet he was tying the crap out of the
Right.
money bag so that wouldn't have happened. I don't think any bills flew off. One local newspaper editor conjectured that Cooper, knowing he could never spend the money, dumped it in the river or buried portions of it at Tina Bar and possibly elsewhere himself. Okay, maybe.
No.
Yeah, I kind of doubt that too. I think
Because,
if it's a traction place where people go, they would have found it.
Well, and,
You know what I mean?
and if he knew he couldn't spend it, why would he do it?
Yeah.
I mean, and if he goes through all this trouble to plan this amazing heist out, what you telling me he doesn't have a plan with how to spend the money or how to get rid of it or how to wash
Right.
it or
Well,
how to hide it or how to use it? Get out of here.
I would think, and again, I'm not an expert on how you trace down circulate. I mean, you would think, okay, I know they traced these bills. I know they marked every one of these bills. I'm going to sit on this thing for 10 years
Right.
after this settles down. And then my bank, some bank tellers back then aren't going to pay attention. Plus, I don't think they had computers to, like, if say they could put the money in a machine and compare those numbers
Right.
to
Nationally database.
right,
or-
a national database. They didn't have that. They basically, you would have people having to look at these bills at the end of the night going looking
and notice it.
and who the hell's going to
And
do
notice
that?
it.
And he's going to care?
Yeah.
A banker's going to go, no, I'm going
There's a bigger
I'm going
story.
to the bar after the
Right,
I ain't got
yeah,
time
yeah.
for this.
Yeah.
So I bet he sat on it for a while.
And hey, and think about the underbelly
Yeah.
being able to get rid of cash, especially back then.
Yeah.
So much easier.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He could have
The dark underbelly.
The dark underbelly. Okay. Did I already read that? I don't think so. In 1986, after protracted negotiations, the recovered bills were divided equally between Ingram, he's the kid that found them, and Northwest Orient Insurers. The FBI retained 14 examples for evidence, and Ingram sold 15 of his bills at auction in 2008 for about $37,000. So
Total?
yeah.
Okay.
I was off a little bit. I thought it was a couple of bills, but still for 15 bills, 37,000 is not a
Good
bad
for him,
take.
dude.
God, man, that'd be kind of a cool
He's just sitting on
a
it.
cool little artifact to have
Oh,
in your,
he
in your
still
man
has it.
cave.
Yeah.
I got DB Cooper's.
We got to
$20
find him. His name's Brian Ingram.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me
Maybe-
write that down. I will be finding
Hey,
Brian
that'd be.
Ingram.
We should interview him.
Brian, if you're out there, I will be contacting you shortly. Okay.
Okay, to date, none of the 9,710 remaining bills have turned up anywhere.
How many? I'm sorry.
9,710 bills.
Okay. Okay.
Now remember, they were in 20s. So.
Right.
Okay, so their serial numbers remain available online for public search. At this point, if I've got, I showed you I had a 1969 $20 bill, and that's the first thing I did is I went to go look at the serial number to
Right.
see if there's an L on it, because I bet
But
you.
you're one out of a million that would do that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Like I told you
know.
what I did with my old 20. I was like, I got one at a gas station. I think I turned around and was like, let me get some lottery tickets. What am I going to do with this? Like,
You bought- yeah, I mean, here's the deal. A 1969 $20 bill, or it's not worth anything really.
But now if I see one, I'm going to be like, wait a second.
Now you're
I'm
gonna look
hold
at
on to
this.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am too, man. That'd be awesome to have it hanging around. Okay, so let's see. Where are we at? The Columbia River ransom money and the air stairs instruction placard remain the only confirmed physical evidence from the hijacking ever found outside the aircraft. In late 2007, the FBI announced that the partial DNA profile had been obtained from 3 organic samples found on Cooper's clip-on tie in 2001, though they later acknowledged that there's no evidence that the hijacker was the source of the sample material. The tie had 2 small DNA samples and 1 large sample, says Special Agent Fred Gutt. Yeah, I mean, how the hell are you going to,
Yeah.
because that could be wherever he worked at. It could be, say he hugged somebody, hugged a girl,
Yeah, definitely.
something like that.
But he put the damn tie on.
He did.
Well, we don't know that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, that's true.
Yep.
They also disclosed that Cooper had chosen the older of the two primary parachutes supplied to him rather than the technically superior professional sports parachute, because in case they thought, we talked about that. So I wanted to bring up, remember we talked about why did he ask for extra parachutes? And what they came up with is he knew they would give them good parachutes if they thought he was going to make some of the flight crew jump
Smart,
out.
dude. Again,
So they wouldn't give him a dummy, although they accidentally did put a dummy parachute in there. They say they accidentally.
which begs the question: why would you even manufacture a dummy parachute?
Well, they
Like,
well, here's what they said. They said that when they got the demands, they ran to the nearest jump school
for sure.
and they said they just hastily grabbed 4 parachutes, and one of them happened to be been a dummy parachute.
Right.
They said it was sewn shut. Now,
Wait a minute.
For
wait
training,
A minute. Wait a minute. Why does a jump school have a dummy
that's
parachute?
What I'm saying. Like, yeah, I get like a dummy gun for training or something, but why not just have a real parachute for?
Yeah, a dummy parachute sounds like a really bad idea to me.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
well, see that was the one he was going to use for his reserve, but he noticed right away it was a dummy. So yeah. So,
but it's just bizarre that they even make this. But go on, continue.
Okay. Although they gained little new information about the buried ransom money or Cooper's landing zone, they were able to find and analyze hundreds of minute particles on Cooper's tie. This is interesting to me. In January 2017, Kay reported that rare earth minerals such as cerium and strontium sulfide had also been identified among particles from the tie. One of the rare applications for such elements in 1970 was, get this, Boeing's Supersonic Transport Development Project, suggesting the possibility that Cooper was a Boeing employee.
He absolutely was.
Oh, he knew. He knew. Other possible sources of the material included plants that manufactured cathode ray tubes, which I believe are television tubes.
Manufacturing plants,
right?
Not like
yeah, and they said they had such a Portland firm. They had Teledyne and they had Tektronix at that time.
Right.
But I'm saying because of his knowledge for
Boeing for 100%.
For aircraft and everything, definitely he may have been a Boeing employee.
And it makes you think, like, why would that be on there? But hey, it could have been on his hands. He could have been coming straight from work. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do this today.
Yeah, and one person brought up, they said, well, why would he wear a tie to work? And they said that back then that even some of the people in the lab wore ties.
Yeah, definitely.
When they worked on stuff.
I mean, think about
it's a different time.
Think about gas station attendants.
Yeah. Hey, in back, in Abbey Road, when the Beatles recorded, all the techs and the engineers and recording people wore white lab coats.
Oh, interesting.
With ties.
Right.
A white lab coat. Yeah.
Uniforms. Yeah.
Right. And this one just talks about let's see if there's any other interesting pictures here. I mean, that's the tie. And that is the flight attendant that sat next to her, or next to him. We showed the ticket, showed that. So I think we're all through those pictures. Hey, Pam, I think I forgot to add your pictures to the for your deal.
Husband of the year.
I know. You know what? Why?
It's all good.
No, it's fine. I mean, because if you start doing it, I probably can.
It's all good.
If you start talking about it, I can probably do it while you're talking.
Yeah.
So
it's all good.
Okay, so FBI sketches of Cooper with age progression. Over the 45-year span of its active investigation, the FBI periodically, say that word for me?
Periodically.
Thank you. Made public some of its working hypothesis and tentative, there's big words in this.
Super big.
Conclusions drawn from witness testimony and a scarce physical evidence. The official physical description of Cooper has remained unchanged and is considered reliable. Flight attendants Schaffner and Mucklow, who spent most of the time with Cooper, were interviewed on the same night in separate cities and gave nearly identical descriptions. Around 5 feet 10, 180 pounds, mid-40s, with closed-set, piercing brown eyes. Cooper appeared to be familiar with the Seattle area and may have been an Air Force veteran. Thank you very much. Based on testimony that he recognized the city of Tacoma from the air as the jet circled Puget Sound, and his accurate comment to Mucklow that McCord Air Force Base was approximately 20-minute drive from Seattle Tacoma Airport, a detail most civilians would not know or comment upon. I don't know that I would have said that. Because you're kind of in a way giving.
Yeah, but he's giddy. He's doing it.
He is.
He's pulling it off, man. He's just chatting. He's drinking. Drinking a little bit.
Confidence.
Yeah.
He has all the confidence in the world. Yeah, I bet you that's part of it. Drinking. He's relaxed. He's like, This is a piece of cake. Got
Yeah.
this-
Well, and the other thing, what I said earlier, because it is a coin toss, and talking to our guys, and then knowing that he has knowledge of this,
yeah.
he's probably thinking, I'm either going to get away or I'm going to die.
I'm going to die.
Who cares?
Yeah. At that point, he must have not gave a damn
Yeah.
whether he died or not. I don't agree with this. Some of the FBI people said, well, his financial situation was very likely desperate, according to FBI's retired chief investigator Ralph Himmelbach. Extortionists and other criminals who steal large amounts of money nearly always do so because they need it urgently. Otherwise, the crime is not worth the considerable risk. I don't believe that at all. Yeah, this guy was definitely a risk taker.
Enjoyed it.
Because there's other ways he could have got this money without, it was like almost, I think, a challenge to him.
I agree.
I'm going to try hijack this plane. Not only that, I'm going to jump out over the Pacific Northwest in the dark.
I know I can do this.
In the dark.
I know I can do this.
Wearing loafers.
Wearing penny loafers.
Yeah. That gotta be a hard hit, man.
Yeah. I want to meet. I wish I could meet this guy.
Yeah, there were some people were wondering because he made the crew lock themselves in the cockpit.
Yeah.
That maybe he was changing into a parachute.
Where would he have been hiding it?
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, he did have that briefcase, but of course that had
There
the
was a
bomb in it. Yeah, and I don't think he had any bags.
Dude,
on
I
him.
think
he just did it.
Hey, listen, these guys in World War II,
It makes it more interesting.
Hey, jumping into Normandy, these hostile environments, they weren't good. I mean, I'm not saying they were ill prepared, but it wasn't like they were wearing a ton like in today's environment. These guys are going out with, oxygen mask and everything. Back then, dude, they were just wearing a suit.
Absolutely. World War II, World War One.
They're just jumping out.
They're just jumping and hoping for the best because they didn't even have those steering devices at all.
Yeah, but and I heard you mention the World War II thing earlier. Do we really think that's the era he came from? Because
or even Korea.
Yeah, I was thinking more maybe Korea, because wouldn't that put him like well into his 50s if he was World War II?
18.
Yeah, that's true. They said they thought he was mid 40s, so
I mean, he was like
it could have been the Korean War. But kids were.
We know you passed for 48, so
oh god, my sweet daughter Taylor.
Just different era though. But I mean, yeah, it could have been World War II. You're talking.
Weren't there kids? I mean, I remember hearing kids 16 years old getting permission from their parents to go to war.
Right, but that would
so
still
40, 50, 60, at 20 years at 50, 30, 40. Yeah, like it's possible.
See, my thing is that he did it a lot though.
Yeah.
I feel like
what if he was just in the military? He would just, well, look, we could take the whole war thing out of it. Let's just say he was in the Air Force and he trained to be a paratrooper.
Yeah. Or
and knew what to do.
Someone in chat said Marine 100% chance he nailed it.
Hoorah.
Yeah. No, I mean,
hoorah.
I just think it's somebody that did it a lot.
Yeah.
And had a lot of jumps under their belt.
Well, and here's the last sentence of this is alternatively, Cooper may have been a thrill seeker who made the jump just to prove it could be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board with that.
But he didn't.
Huh?
He didn't, though.
What do you mean he didn't?
He didn't prove it could be
right.
done.
Oh,
I don't know
true.
if he survived or not.
Right.
Well, how about proving it to himself?
Yeah.
Maybe. So agents theorized that Cooper took his alias from a popular Belgian comic series from the 1970s feature the fictional hero Dan Cooper, a Royal Canadian Air Force test pilot who took part in numerous heroic adventures, including parachuting. One cover from the series reproduced on the FBI website depicts test pilot Cooper skydiving in full paratrooper regalia. So this guy actually saw
eccentric.
Yeah, well, he saw the comic book, Dan,
right.
and he picked the name. So because the Dan Cooper comics were never translated into English nor imported to the U.S., they speculated that he had encountered them during a tour of duty in Europe.
Right.
The Cooper research team suggested that the alternative possibility that Cooper was Canadian and found the comics in Canada, where they were also sold. So that's a possibility.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. They noted his specific demand for negotiable American currency, a phrase seldom, if ever, used by American citizens. Since witnesses stated that Cooper had no distinguishable accent, Canada would be his most likely country of origin if he were not a U.S. citizen.
Unless he was stationed in Europe.
Yeah, that's true.
Spent time in France. Yep.
Dang it. Where's Aunt Doug? We need him.
Yeah, is Doug in the chat room anywhere?
He hasn't popped up yet, so I don't think so.
Okay. Well, look at that, Garrett. Isn't that cool? So used to
love it.
Used to when we had OBS, we had to do like 100 clicks just to get to the chat room. Now it's all just there for us.
Hi, Conjuring Mad Green 420.
Randy Southwell, how you doing,
And Randy,
Bubba?
Bubba Randy.
Yeah, we haven't got to look at it because we've been doing pictures, and that puts me in a different program part of it. But anyway, let's see. What else did we talk about here on Mr. Cooper? Evidence suggested that Cooper was not knowledgeable about flying technique, aircraft, and the terrain. He demanded 4 parachutes to force the assumption that he might compel one or more hostages to jump with him.
So did he actually say that, or did
No?
Okay,
He asked for the parachutes,
but he didn't say
There's-
why. They're
no,
speculating.
they're
Okay.
assuming, and that's pretty brilliant.
That's good. Yeah,
That's
no,
pretty
good.
smart because he knows that they're not going to give him although they did give him a dummy sheet.
Right? Yeah.
So who knows? Yeah. Oops. And they had to go public when they found that out, and they said we did not give that to him.
On
That was
purpose, yeah.
Yeah, they said we were in haste. We grabbed some parachutes from the
Right.
flight school, and that's how that worked.
I still want to know why a flight
I
school
agree.
has dummy parachutes.
I don't know if any of you guys have been in flight school. Let us know. I'm curious myself. He chose a 727 aircraft because it was ideal for a bailout escape, owing not only to its AFT air stair, but also the high placement of all 3 engines, which allowed a reasonably safe jump despite the proximity of the engine exhaust. That's pretty smart.
Yep, he knew it.
It had a single point fueling capability, a then recent innovation that allowed all tanks to be refueled rapidly through a single fuel port. Also smart. It also had the ability, unusual for a commercial jet airliner, to remain in slow, low altitude flight without stalling. And he
knew his
picked
stuff, dude.
he picked he picked this all apart. In addition, Cooper was familiar with important details such as the appropriate flap setting of 15 degrees, which was unique to the aircraft.
Very specific.
And a typical refueling time.
Boeing employee.
Yeah, exactly. He knew that the AFT air stair could be lowered during a flight, a fact never disclosed to civilian flight crews, since there was no situation on a passenger flight that would make it necessary, and that its operation by a single switch in the rear of the cabin could not be overridden from the cockpit.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Been planning it for a long time.
Planning it for a long time. He also may have known that the Central Intelligence Agency, also known as what, Garrett?
CIA.
Was at the time using 727s to drop agents and supplies behind the enemy lines during the Vietnam War.
Dude.
Hey, wait a minute, Pam.
Dude.
Vietnam War. He could have been in the early 60s Vietnam War.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Korea, Vietnam, anything.
No,
I
you
think he was
more
an operative, dude. I think
Dude.
yeah,
current
he was
than-
probably in Laos or something.
Well, if you think, it says to drop agents and supplies of a 727. Now, you would think they're meaning secret agents,
Bond,
right?
Yeah,
James
for
Bond.
sure.
So
For
how
sure.
would he know that unless he
He
was
was an operative.
operative? You're smart, man.
I think he was, man.
I like the way you think. According to Kay's research team, Cooper's meticulous planning might also have extended to the timing of the operation and even his choice of attire. The FBI searched but couldn't find anyone who disappeared that weekend. That's what does it for me,
That's crazy.
Kay wrote, suggesting that the perpetrator had returned to his normal occupation. If you're planning on going back to work on Monday, then you would need as much time as possible to get out of the woods, find transportation, and get home. The very best time for this is in front of a 4-day weekend, which is the timing Dan Cooper chose for his crime. The author of the analysis of World War II aircrew bailouts concluded that the possibility of Cooper's survival may have been higher than suggested by popular opinion. Cooper, he claimed, jumped in conditions that thousands of RAF crewmen survived during World War II, which is something you brought up and makes sense. The FBI was more skeptical, concluding, well, the FBI, what do they know?
Yeah, those guys.
I'm just teasing, but
I love the FBI.
I do too. We have an FBI
We have
friend,
a friend.
but they wouldn't know about it. Certain airline stuff,
No,
So-
no.
The FBI was more skeptical, concluding that Cooper lacked the crucial skydiving skill experience. We originally thought Cooper was an experienced jumper, perhaps even a paratrooper, said Special Agent Larry Carr, leader of the investigation team from 2006 until its dissolution in 2016. We concluded after a few years this was simply not true. No experienced parachutist would have jumped in the pitch black night in the rain with a 172 mile per hour wind in his face, wearing loafers and a trench coat. It was simply too. Sounds like Mr. Rogers jumped out of the plane. It's a beautiful. Oh shit! It was simply too risky. He also missed that his reserve parachute was only for training and had been sewn shut, something a skilled skydiver would have checked. He also failed to bring or request a helmet, chose to jump with older and technically inferior of the two primary parachutes supplied to him, and jumped into probable 15-degree Fahrenheit wind, a very powerful wind, 10,000 feet in November over Washington State without proper protection against extreme wind chill. But we already
by design, dude.
We already talked to two paratroopers that said, yeah, it's very, I mean, that's what they did in World War II.
Yep.
All the time.
By design.
Right.
I think the elements and everything, the timing.
Yeah, absolutely. The FBI speculated from the beginning that Cooper did not survive his jump, diving into the wilderness without a plan, without the right equipment,
without a plan.
I know, exactly.
That's all the guy did is
the guy knew exactly the degrees of the
15
the
degrees.
Yeah,
megabytes.
Yeah. I mean, he went over a flight plan with the crew.
Yeah,
he planned this out.
Yeah.
That's just stupid.
Well, that's why I think it's so important that the timing of it, because he's sitting back, he's just taking a couple of drinks, thinking they're never going to think I'm going to survive this.
Yeah, and listen to Special Agent Carr said, he probably never even got the chute open.
Yeah, because DB Cooper's an idiot.
Yeah. Even if he did land safely, agents contended that survival in the mountainous terrain at the onset of winter would have been all but impossible without an accomplice at a predetermined landing point. This would have required a precisely timed jump, necessitating, in turn, cooperation from the flight crew. Now, I agree with that, but I don't think he had an accomplice.
No, I don't either. Because how would he communicate with the accomplice as to
There's
where he's
no way.
Land?
He was just
Now today's.
Oh yeah, you got GPS.
Yeah, but you'd also be caught in 5 seconds. So.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. There's no evidence. I mean, he wouldn't be able to carry a briefcase onto a plane back then.
This would never happen
like that. There's no evidence that Cooper requested or received any such help from the crew, nor that he had any clear idea where he was when he jumped into the stormy, overcast darkness. The end.
It's an insane case, man.
It is. I think he made it.
I think he made it as well.
I do too.
I think that he was highly trained at some point in his life.
Yeah.
I think it's something he's well prepared for.
And the thing that kind of did it for me was, they would have checked for missing persons report, right?
Yep.
If someone filed a missing persons, no one did.
Yeah. My husband died.
Yeah. Or
he's missing.
Even a single guy, even if he was retired, someone say, hey, my neighbor hasn't came out of his house.
Yeah.
This guy, I believe he made it. What do you guys think? You think the dude made it or not?
Well, I think that he also picked that parachute because of the conditions. Right. So the FBI agent was trying to say, oh, well, jumping from this airplane, this wind, going at 172 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And so I think he picked that. I think he knew all these things would be occurring. Therefore, he needed something that was going to be heavy duty and get him through the job. So,
as Patrick McClure said, Marine, 100% chance he nailed the landing. I like it. It, Patrick. I like it.
Yeah. We've got one, though, that said earlier that thinks that he didn't survive it. So
there's a chance of that. Like I said, there's a lot of evidence to show that he didn't make it. There's evidence showed he did.
What about the theory that this is an elaborate suicide?
I mean, it could be. My only thing is, and I don't want to sound naive, because I've even said on this show before that there's parts of Oklahoma I don't think humans ever stepped on, right? So I mean, he could just be, his parachute could be hanging from a tree, or he may have not even ever pulled it. But with 200, he's just got a lot going on with the trench coat, with the loafers, with the $200,000, right? And so if they found the card, and if they found the $2,500, I just feel like that there would be more that have been found by now.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm just being naive.
No, Garrett and I talked about that. How many bills did I say? It was several thousand bills.
About 10,000 bills.
Right. So, I mean, that would have blown, especially with the wind out there.
Right.
Someone would have found bills blowing all over the place. Or money would have been just coming down from the sky.
Maybe. Yeah.
But no one reported any of it.
Or if the parachute did deploy and he was able to steer it and he got stuck in a tree, then obviously somebody's going to spot that at some point flying over. But again, this is vast territory.
Yeah.
You don't know. So,
well, I mean, like your paratrooper buddy said that those parachutes were huge.
Yeah.
And a helicopter,
a
helicopter would have spotted it. You said it could last. That parachute would take a long time to degrade, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder how many. Like, could it be up there 2 years?
I don't know. I would think so.
Yeah,
I would definitely.
I think someone would have spotted it.
Yeah.
I really do. And my vote is DB Cooper made it. Pam, your vote?
I'm still undecided.
You can't be undecided.
I can too be undecided.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Garrett, I know
think
what
you
yours.
survived it, man.
I do too. DB Cooper tattoo. Right?
Yep, I'm getting it. You know I'm gonna get it, right?
Oh yeah, I know you will.
I say get the necktie.
Yeah, get the clip-on necktie.
Wear it.
No, tattooed on
yeah,
your.
no, I know. Yeah,
tattooed
just
on your
wear the
chest.
Tattoo forever.
Yeah. Okay,
You know,
so
I think it was really interesting the chemicals that were found on that tie, though, because that
Yeah.
I mean, it just leads you to believe that
Because
he
those
was
are
in
rare.
that environment. Yeah,
yeah, because those are rare. And they said you'd only find that like in a television tube plant
which doesn't follow the MO really.
or at the Boeing.
Yeah.
or at the Boeing plant.
Right.
Patrick-
And one-
Patrick McClure says the original "Make It Rain" guy.
Make it. Yeah.
yeah. JD says he made it. I think he did
Randy said
too.
he made it. Yep.
Yep. Randy made it. Hey, isn't this cool, guys? I can put your stuff up there now. I love it.
Hey, let's ask Brandon Burton if DB Cooper steps forward.
Oh, that's a good question for the psychic, right?
Yeah, let's ask if he steps forward.
We could do that. What if he embarrasses on live TV and says, "Nah, he died"?
Yeah.
And then we go, "You're a horrible
Where's
psychic.
the body?
You don't know what you're
Yeah.
talking about."
Where's
Get
the
off my show.
money at?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so one of you two guys, you've got your little mysterious disappearance. Yours is more paranormal. Yours is solved, but it's interesting nonetheless.
Care Bear, you
Oh,
go.
you want me to go?
Yeah, you go.
Well,
I'm gonna take a bathroom break.
oh my God.
Well, sorry, gotta pee.
What are you, 48 years old?
No, I'm 42 years old.
Interesting. Okay, so Pamela, have you seen the video of Brian Shaffer? Did you see that?
I have not.
We're not gonna show it.
Okay.
But like, just imagine 2006. Like, it was funny because the way people dressed and the
Mhm.
hairstyle,
Mhm.
and so good looking guy.
Mhm.
He was a med student at the time. To be fair, they were out drinking. They were celebrating the end.
Sure.
I think it was right before spring break. So, but in the CCTV, he's essentially about 1:25, about 30 minutes before the bar was closing. They were bar hopping. Him and his two friends are coming up the escalator,
Mhm.
and that footage we can see, right? And then there's also, he comes out about 20 minutes later and he's mingling with two college females. And then he goes back into the bar to meet up with his friends. Well, they lose track of him.
Mhm.
Okay. And so that's the CCTV that we're not going to show, but it's out there. Everybody can see it. But so good looking guy, had everything going for him.
Like me.
Like Keith. Keith's back.
With an empty bladder.
Don't fall.
Okay, sorry.
No, I was just explaining the CCTV footage of
Yeah.
Brian Shaffer as he's going up the escalator,
Right.
and he's super casual. I
Mhm.
mean, after going to bars all night, like he looks way better than I would have looked. Like I definitely wouldn't have.
God,
He
they
looked fine,
didn't
though.
they? Yeah, didn't they go to like 5 or? I mean, there's a map of every bar they hit, and it was like 6 or
And
7.
they were taking shots at every single one.
Everywhere
They were
they took a
plastered,
yeah,
right?
they were completely hammered.
Which is important to know.
Mhm.
And that's just well, it is like
It
later in the story because
because of what happened.
yeah, exactly what happened. So, people saw him inside the bar. His friends were there. Well, he goes missing. And the thing about it, why I connected this story is because Larry used to go missing a lot. Whenever we were in Nashville, Larry, yeah. I love that. Larry was known for doing this. So I don't think, you have friends that do these things,
Mhm.
right? You get
Yeah.
crazy. They show up the next morning. They're calling him, his friends or his two friends, his girlfriend at the time, I believe was there maybe. And then his friend, William Florence. And so they're calling him to no avail, and they think, okay, he made it home back. His apartment was right around the corner.
Mhm.
So the next day they're calling him, no answer, no big deal. Like Larry, maybe he's sleeping in a stairwell. Okay.
Go Larry.
Eating cheeseburgers. But
Is he watching tonight?
he may or may not be watching. So his girlfriend at the time, which we later find out he was actually going to propose to her on
Mm.
their vacation they were taking on Monday. So
Okay,
this
that's
is,
sad now.
this
Yeah.
is Sunday, right?
Yeah.
On Monday, they were supposed to fly out, I think, to Miami, somewhere around there, somewhere nice.
Mhm.
And he was actually had the ring, was going to propose to her. She's obviously freaking out, but thinks, okay, well, he's not going to miss this vacation. We planned it.
Mhm.
He's somewhere, lost his phone, this and that. Monday comes around, he misses the flight. So then obviously they know something really bad has happened.
Right.
So that's when they kind of sound the alarm. And obviously the first thing they do is they call his friends that he was out with. They go to the Ugly Tuna Saluna,
Ugly
which
Tuna
is
Saloon.
the Ugly Tuna.
That's a
Tuna
horrible
Saluna.
name for a bar.
It's in
That's
Columbus.
a great name for a
I love
bar.
it.
Is
Yeah.
it?
It's in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
Which I think it's important to know that in Columbus, they have 3 times in 2006, they had 3 times more security cameras than the other huge cities like Cincinnati, like Cleveland, like Toledo had combined. So there was tons of footage when they were able to look back at this. So they're scared. They're looking for him. They go to look at the footage. They see Brian going in, but there is absolutely no footage of Brian leaving the bar at any point that night or the next day. They took it a step further and they said, okay, well, let's look at the footage from the other bars that they went to down the street. It's like a street of bars. No footage of him walking to and from the bar. No footage of him walking in the direction of his apartment. And so it was just this huge confusion surrounding this case. There was another exit that he could have taken. Now, the problem with this exit at that time is it was under some pretty complicated construction.
Okay.
So this is where the drinking part comes in, because professionals, detectives, even construction workers say it would have been very unlikely for him to be able to navigate his way through this construction site. So it's very unlikely that he made it down there. And secondly, it does. Yeah. So Patrick,
Pat said this is, and I saw that somewhere when I kind of looked over that case a little bit. Smiley, that was Keith Jefferson, who was the smiley face killer. He was a truck driver.
No. This is completely different.
Oh, different smiley face killer.
Yeah. So
which I was going to say, I couldn't make the connection at all. So this is a different
So let me
thing.
make the connection for you. So
make the connection.
There have been a lot of white college males
Okay.
who have ended up drowned in some body of water. And around a lot of these bodies, they found graffiti of a smiley face.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so they started connecting this graffiti with these cases.
And this was going on around the same
They're around the
time
United States, right?
this guy
But
disappeared.
Brian would have been the only victim that hasn't been found.
Okay.
So all the other victims, I think there's like 40 of them, dude. There's a lot of them.
Really?
Which, man, it's kind of conspiracy theory that this is an actual thing. It's
Is it
almost kind of
unsolved?
reaching that these smiley faces are. It's just a kind of a common thing. People, when they're graffitiing, I mean, they're going to put a smiley face, right? It just so happens that these kids are drowning in mysterious ways. But they never found Brian, which would have made him the only one that the body has never been found. A lot of people think that maybe Brian was wanting to live a double life. His mother had just passed away a couple months beforehand. But then again, he was planning to propose to his girlfriend at the time. They were going on a week-long vacation, which for a medical student, I think is a big step. His grades weren't suffering. He was doing fine. So I don't think that he was trying to live a double life. I can say unequivocally, I have no earthly idea what happened to Brian Shaffer. Now, they were able to identify everybody in the bar that night, every single person, every employee, every patron, because again, there's a lot of footage surrounding this case.
What if somebody snuck him in the back and murdered him? I mean, you wouldn't if you're in a bar drinking, you might not see a guy with another person walking through the back or something.
Right.
Something like that had to happen. He just didn't disappear, or did he?
Well, okay, so we'll get there.
Okay, go ahead.
So in a couple years later, no. Let me rewind. Brian's grieving girlfriend, bless her heart, man, because they were very close. This was not on the radar. This was uncharacteristic of Brian, right? She would call his phone every night he was missing, before she would go to bed, to ease her mind. That was, although probably unhealthy, a coping mechanism to keep it alive. And so 6 months after this, in September, she's calling every single night. His phone begins to ring.
Okay.
And because previously to this, I think it's important to say that everything in his apartment was never touched. So, and for some reason, he left his cell phone that night at his apartment. So cell phone was never touched. I think that there was no signs of forced entry. Everything was completely as he had left it. So this thing starts. I'm sorry, he did not leave his cell phone because it starts to ping. They've never found a cell phone, but it starts to ping 14 miles north of Columbus when it's ringing. And so obviously they're kind of freaking out, trying to discover where the cell phone is, where the ping is coming from. Is Brian alive? His wireless carrier says that this was just a glitch in the software, and that it turned on for a second, and that it should have never happened.
Well, didn't they say that about the Delphi? Remember
They
we talked
did.
about the cell phone. I think we talked with Matt about that, where it started pinging,
Right.
and then it stopped, and then it's like, and I could see a battery. You know, when you leave a battery down for a little bit after it dies, it still has a little juice in it.
Yeah.
That it might start just
Right.
barely kind of ping,
Right.
and then finally it's just going to completely die.
I think it's weird that she called and it started ringing.
That is odd. That
Right.
it had that much, yeah,
Yeah.
and
I
not
mean,
going to
was-
the voicemail.
Was the number not possibly reassigned?
I mean, I guess it could have been,
How now?
but
how
they
long
would have
ago-
found that, I think.
How long
Yeah.
ago was that though?
That was 6 months after this. So that'd been 14 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
but how
15
long?
going on
How
15
long
years ago.
was it that she called the number and it
6
started ringing
months.
from the? Okay, yeah, I doubt that would be a new number. I don't know. It could be,
No,
but someone would have answered it. I would think, or they would have had a
Change the voicemail.
voicemail.
But that happens all the time. I
Yeah.
mean, God bless her, but my nanny's voice was on my grandfather's phone
Yeah,
for years. And we were finally
Right.
like, I was finally like, Mom,
Yeah.
can you please? And you know what's crazy? My mom redid the voicemail
Uh-huh.
and she sounds just like my nanny. I was like, it still sounds like nanny. Can
Yeah.
Uncle Mike to do it? So
Yeah.
So that was odd. Another thing happened 2 years later. Dude, it's crazy how many times when we're talking about cases, this kind of tragedy just kind of like plagues a family, right? So
Right.
mother dies, Brian goes missing. His beloved father 2 years later is in Baltimore during a windstorm trying to clean up debris, and a branch kills the guy.
Oh my gosh.
oh wow.
Branch kills the guy. And so, and at this time, they're still actively searching for Brian because
Right.
they haven't found a body.
Mhm.
The phone's ringing, right? A lot of people were suspecting that he was living a double life, although his family completely shuts that down.
Sure.
But so they do an online obituary because they want Brian to be able to see if he's out there.
Mhm.
And somebody actually writes and says, love you, love Brian from the Virgin Islands in parentheses. Okay, so they're like, oh my God, weird. They tracked that back to a publicly used computer somewhere in Virginia. So it ended up just being a hoax, right?
Yeah.
What if it was
What
in
a-
Virginia?
It could have been. It could have been. Another thing they said was, did he bring a change of clothes, put on a baseball hat and walk out? No. They actually, again, they identified every single patron that walked out. Also, he was extremely hammered. He wasn't like DB Cooper, where he had a couple, scotches on the rocks and then jumped out of an airplane,
Yeah.
planned out.
And plus, his clothes were accounted for, right? They said.
Yeah. So that's completely out of the picture. So I think it only leads to two things. A psychic did say that like his body, that his father actually reached out to a psychic, said his body was somewhere near a bridge in a body of water. And man, they spent his brother Derek and his dad and people that are still actively looking for Brian spent years looking up and down the banks. To no avail, was never found. So I think that there's only two really answers to this. Because I don't think he
Read that.
okay.
Mrs. Perez wants the facts. So Alice through the looking glass. He is in another dimension somewhere.
Which is one of my answers.
Okay.
And she wants the facts. And I hate to make this my speculation, but because of the kind of show we are, if you guys have never listened to it, we talk about multi-dimensional reality.
Mhm.
We talk about even simulation theory. We
Mhm.
talk about a lot of these things. And so a portal in the bathroom, they get sucked into a portal, did something like that? Did something paranormal occur? I don't know. Was there some sort of crime? What I said about that though is like, I feel like somebody would have noticed or been like, oh, I think I saw that guy walking to the back.
Yeah.
I heard about a case like this here in the last couple of years, a young man in England somewhere, I believe it was out in a pub,
Right.
and got pretty hammered. And they couldn't find him for a long time. Ultimately, they did end up finding his remains. And unfortunately, what had happened is he had passed out next to a dumpster.
Right.
And got compacted.
Oh, God.
I mean, these weird things
Yeah.
absolutely can happen. I mean, you hear about it a lot up north, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, he literally did. He passed, well, not next to, but in the dumpster, got dumped and got compacted. But it looks like with the amount of CCTV availability that you're talking about, that they would have.
They said too, they were like, well, there's a balcony he could have climbed down, but again, super impaired. And then they also said that's very difficult.
The kind of thing you would do when you're super impaired.
Absolutely.
Hey, watch this.
Or a dumbwaiter or something.
Yeah.
Would there
Check
be a
this
dumbwaiter
out.
he could have climbed in?
But again,
the fact is, he didn't show up.
People.
And not only that, he's never appered.
Exactly.
So
normally the guys at bars that are jumping off balconies are the ones that you're like, look at that asshole. He's jumping off a balcony. Do it. Go Larry. Go Larry.
Go Larry.
Hey, fair warning that Larry, those years are long gone, but he has fallen asleep in the back of some random truck before. So, things like that, weird things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
But let me just back this up. This weird disappearing act with another story. And it's of a German kid. His name was Lars Mintak. And I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. And you guys can look up, just Google Lars disappearance, because this is another one where there's CCTV. And Lars was with a group of friends again. And this is what's crazy, Pamela, is that like with the DB Cooper thing, he was around a group of people, but not a group of friends.
Right.
In Brian Shaffer's disappearance, he was around a group of friends. In the case of Lars, he was also with a group of friends, and they were actually taking a vacation in Bulgaria from Germany at a very popular seaside resort. And he actually went to a McDonald's the night before they were supposed to leave. And he was a soccer fan for a team called Werder Bremen. And he ran into some fans of another club in Germany called Bayern Munich. And they started having words because we know in Europe, right, they're going to fight it out, right? Yeah. And so he ends up getting his ass beat by 4 dudes and busts an eardrum, messes up his jaw, so he can't fly the next day. The doctor says you can't fly because you have a ruptured eardrum.
Right.
So his friends, he says, you guys go ahead. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to catch a flight the next day. I'm on antibiotics, no problem. They say, are you sure? He says, absolutely. So they leave to go back to Germany, and he finds a cheaper motel. Again, super busy, so there was no motels closer to the airport. Well, there's CCTV of him acting erratically, much like the case of at the hotel
Lisa
Lamb. He starts kind of losing it. He's all by himself. He's in a foreign country. He's taking these antibiotics, which they say what it is. I can't remember what it is. I don't think it's supposed to make you. Antibiotics typically don't make you act crazy.
Typically don't, but an inner ear thing can make you wig out.
Right. And so he starts thinking, he calls his mom and says, cancel all my credit cards because there are 4 dudes that are chasing me and trying to kill me. And then hangs up. And she's like, okay. Right. Trying to get a hold of him. Won't answer. Sends a text later. Really worried. No, I'm getting on my flight tomorrow. These guys are still chasing me. They're getting closer. And the CCTV of him in that hotel is he's just pacing back and forth, looking out windows. He actually leaves at 1:00 in the morning, vanishes for an hour, comes back unscathed. And so the next day, the last known sighting of Lars is he's walking into an airport, gets out of the taxi. He's carrying a single bag and a backpack. And he has to go to I guess they have doctors in airports. Didn't know that. Makes sense. Never knew that you'd have to go to one to get passed off before he gets on the flight. So he's in there. The doctor says he is acting strange. He's very nervous. He's not really saying much, but he gives him the go ahead. Like, hey, dude, you're good. Giving you some good news. Well, as he's giving him the good news, saying you can go ahead and get on your flight, a construction worker walks in because they're doing some construction on a nearby office, right inside the airport. Lars mumbles something under his breath, drops everything, and the last known sighting of him in the CCTV is him sprinting through the airport. Now, it's common to see people sprinting in an airport because you're trying to catch flights. Seeing someone sprint out of an airport is odd.
Yeah.
Especially with nothing. He left his passport, his cell phone, his wallet, everything inside of his bag. Furthermore, the CCTV on the outside shows him sprinting across a parking lot, over a median,
Mm-hmm.
and then scaling an 8-foot fence with barbed wire.
Whoa.
Makes it over, runs into the forest, never to be seen again. Vanishes in Bulgaria.
Wow.
Vanishes in Bulgaria. Now there have been sightings of him in Brazil. There's been sightings in Poland. There's been sightings, but it's never, they've actually tracked these people down. It's never been him. And then here's the last one I'm going to leave you with. And this is, I'm going to circle this all the way back around to Brian Shaffer and the multidimensional theory. Okay. Is that there's a guy named Brandon Swanson. Again, look him up. Okay. He was a college kid going to a community college in Minnesota. Again, partying, all right, celebrating the end of a semester.
Mm-hmm.
On his way home, gets stuck in a ditch. Calls his parents, hey, I think I'm in this town of Lind, which is about 25 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
So they say, okay, stay on the phone. We're gonna make our way towards you, no problem. He had been drinking, but he wasn't inebriated.
Mm-hmm.
And so his dad said he was fully coherent.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I can see the lights of Lind.
Mm-hmm.
So big, huge mistake here. It says, I'm going to start walking. Meet me at this bar that we both know in Lind. They stay on the phone for 47 minutes until they hear Brandon say, oh shit. And then he stays on the line, but completely dead silence. Silence.
Wow.
They find out the next day when they're able to track his phone, he was actually 25 miles in the opposite direction, near a river, but not so close that he like fell in or anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There is a theory that he drowned. His mom says unequivocally he did not drown. But again, another situation where never found.
Wow.
Disappears in the
weird.
forest, no footsteps. They actually tracked his scent through the creek bed because the tide was low. You could have walked across.
Sure.
And then it just his scent disappears. And Brandon hasn't been seen in 13 years. So Brandon disappears 13 years ago. Lars disappears 14 years ago. Brian disappears 15 years ago. In a span of 3 years, you have 3 people who are recorded to be around other people, to be seen, to be alive and well.
Mhm.
No reason to really go off and do anything crazy.
Mhm.
That just vanished.
That
And
is weird.
yeah, those 3 cases stuck out to me as extremely bizarre,
Yeah,
Yeah, they are.
that is.
which would make you think
Hey.
that something could just suck you in and you could be,
How I know, and that's what's so weird about it, is like, how does someone just disappear? Like Brian going into the bar
and never
be coming out.
with people
But
actually seeing him in there.
I know.
Mhm.
And that's why I said, well, maybe someone took him in the back, murdered him, kept his body there, and then snuck him out or something. I mean, unless he did go into a different dimension or something.
Maybe
I
abduction.
I just don't know.
Well, I hate to say it, but I think it's important to also talk about there was another case I'm reading about a young girl, who was walking and actually a guy turned around. She was walking down the damn highway.
Mhm.
He turns around to go get her. It scares her. She runs into the woods. Hasn't been seen in 8 years. But like that, what are the chances if you see somebody directly? And I have this book.
I know.
Mhm.
But if you see a little girl, Keith, in 2000, this was in 2000, but
Yeah.
let's see, even 2000, run into the forest, exactly, they knew it. It was at mile marker 1.36.
Yep.
Mhm.
That you would be able to find a little girl
Mhm.
traveling on foot in that forest, right? And furthermore, what are the odds that there's a serial killer or a sexual predator that's
yeah.
in that forest at 7:00 in the morning, exactly where she's running?
This is starting to sound like a Summer Wells case.
Yeah.
A little bit,
Little bit.
but this girl had good grades. She came from an outstanding family.
Mhm.
They thought maybe she was at grandma's across the street, so it's kind of sounded more like a Libby and
Abby.
Abby kind of case. But it's that quick where you just disappear. She runs into the forest.
Yeah, it's weird.
You think you have a manhunt going on, trying to
Yeah.
find somebody.
Right.
And so, but yeah, the Brian Shaffer thing, is it possible that people do just disappear? You and I have talked about, and Larry's big on this, spontaneous combustion, dude. Cases of it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I believe I've seen pictures of it.
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it happens.
Weird things
Weird phenomena.
happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's completely possible. I would be curious to see what other people think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put it in the chat.
Put it in the
Wow.
chat, please.
Put it in
What
the
happened
chat.
to Brian?
What happened to Brian? Well,
Yeah.
Panama, what do you got for us?
My case that I chose, just one in particular to review, is the Mark Kilroy case, and
that one's solved, right?
it is actually solved, but it took a while to get there. And kind of like your Brian Shaffer, this is 1989, young man, good student, pre-med, athletic, good family, no issues, spring break, woohoo.
Hey.
Yep.
When spring break goes wrong.
All right.
He and three of his best friends since middle school age. A couple of them were actually at different universities, but
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
While he was talking, I put your pictures in there if you want me to put someone up.
Yeah, if you would.
Okay.
You can throw Mark's picture up.
Okay. I will.
Like I said, this is 1989, so bear with the mullet.
Got the hair.
That's a curly. That's a curly mullet.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah,
that was a
Mark would have been one of my contemporaries. So
Absolutely.
anyway, unfortunately, Mark and his friends were, partying for spring break. They were down south. They ended up in Brownsville, Texas. And there's a bridge down there that a lot of people will use to walk back and forth from Mexico to Texas for school, for work, for tourism, whatever, and crossed over into Matamoros, and we're down there partying. It is a big party destination, easy to go to, easy to, travel back and forth. Mark and his buddies hit a lot of different bars. They were talking to, other students from other universities, going around different places. They're pretty lit.
Yep.
They're pretty lit, and it's getting late in the night, and they're getting ready to head back across the bridge back to their hotel. And along the way, the three friends end up, unfortunately, losing track of Mark on the bridge. They're looking around and they think, oh, well, he stopped to take a leak somewhere. We've just, gotten separated. He'll show up. They go back to the hotel. They pass out. Next morning, they wake up. Still no Mark.
Classic case.
So they start retracing their steps, trying to find Mark. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They can't find anything. So they call the police, contact the family, try to retrace steps. And fortunately, after about a month, a gentleman runs a police barrier, ends up at Rancho Santo Elena, I believe, or Santa Elena, which is near Matamoros, and police follow him there. Well, there's a little bit of a language barrier between the American investigation and the Mexican investigation, but they eventually get out of this gentleman that, he's basically a ranch hand and a caretaker at this place. But the ranch does have a reputation for being kind of a seat for some cartel activity. They end up showing him a picture of Mark, who he recognizes. And he's like, yeah, I remember seeing this kid. And it turns out that Mark, unfortunately, I don't know, on the way back, did get separated from his friends, stopped to talk to some girls, stopped to go to the bathroom. Some guys tried to call him over to talk to them. They tried to abduct him. Mark's a big athletic guy. Mark gets away, takes off running. He runs and is almost free of him, and then another car comes and cuts him off.
Oh, God.
More people.
Yeah, I remember he almost got away, didn't he?
Yeah. More people with the same group, unfortunately, and these guys have guns.
The most terrifying scenario of all time.
Yeah.
First off, being kidnapped is...
Yeah, exactly. And so, unfortunately, Mark is forced into the car. He's handcuffed, taken to this ranch. And the guy who is kind of in charge and running the ranch is a guy named Adolfo Costanzo. And Adolfo has a rather unique religious background. He practices what is described as a combination of Santeria and, bear with me if I say this incorrectly, Palo Mayombe, which are actually religions that come from Africa and have kind of been tweaked by slaves that were brought over from Africa when they got into Cuba. Now, I did some more reading on this because I'm thinking a lot of the research that I looked at into Mark's case talked about this being a satanic killing. And it really wasn't. It's a completely different religion. Now, does it have elements that could correlate or parallel Satanism? It certainly sounds like it.
Right.
But in my mind, the conclusion I came to was that this bastardized version of religion that Costanzo practiced would be kind of like the division between Christianity and Satanism.
Right.
You know, they're two sides of the same coin,
Right.
unfortunately.
Gotcha, yeah.
And this Palo Mayombe sounds like that. I heard it described on one website as the darker version of Santeria. I'm not sure that that's 100% accurate. I know there were some websites that I looked at that I really got a bad vibe from.
Right.
And I cleared off of those pretty quickly. But there were other websites that I looked at that I felt like I got a little bit better understanding of it. So I think a lot of it just kind of goes to how the individual practices.
Well, yeah, we talked about that a lot, like on the cult episode too.
Yeah, the particular religion.
Right.
Unfortunately, Costanzo had really drummed up this cult belief, and I think it went back to that. What was it? BITE. The acronym that our guest used that night about whether you're in a cult, you know, where you're separated.
Oh yeah, I don't remember.
I can't remember.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, but anyway, regardless of what it was, these were people who were running drugs. There is some speculation that there was also some trafficking going on. They found, well over 200, I think close to 250 pounds of marijuana. They found 80 grams of cocaine. I can't remember what all else they found when they raided the ranch at that point.
Right.
But in this bastardized version of religion, what they were doing was basically killing their enemies or their rivals. So, a human life is a human life. These guys would kill rival drug dealers, and in a sacrificial manner. Unfortunately, they were planning a sacrifice specifically because they felt like when they made these big sacrifices, not only did they gain power, did they gain wealth, did they gain strength, but they also gained protection from law enforcement. And Costanzo specifically told his cronies to go out that night and find a, quote, gringo, which would have been
God bless.
Mark Kilroy specifically. Or someone that fit, it could have been one of his buddies as easily as Mark, but this cult was pretty big and pretty far reaching. There is another young woman, not young now, but Sarah Maria Aldrete, who
was that the picture I need to put up on?
Yeah, please. Okay. Who was a part of this as well. Costanzo, who was the leader, was referred to as the Godfather. Sarah was referred to as the Godmother. A lot of what Sarah, her role was sometimes luring people in, whether to become members or to be sacrificed.
Jeez.
God, that's insane.
Yeah.
Well, she booked a room in hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, she's got one.
Yeah. So it's pretty serious, pretty heavy stuff. Sarah right now She's in prison. Initially, she denied any involvement, that she was supposedly newly initiated into this cult, didn't know anything about what was going on. They came to find out later that no, she was one of the main players in the cult. Like I said, they referred to her as the godmother in the cult, where Costanza was the godfather. And I don't know that they were necessarily romantically linked in any way, and it really doesn't matter,
Right.
whether they were or not. But ultimately, she was found to be responsible in these slayings, because ultimately when they searched the ranch, besides finding the all the drugs and things, they found what they described initially as a human slaughterhouse. In digging, they came up with the remains of 15 bodies.
Oh my God.
Including Mark Kilroy. Already was not directly linked to the killing as far as having a hand physically in it, but was still convicted and is currently serving about 63 years, I believe. Yeah, we hope.
Yeah.
We hope they never turn her loose.
And
but Mark, when they found him, and this is based on caregivers' testimony, when they went through searching and found this shack basically where they would do these ritualistic practices, they found altars, there was a cauldron. When they looked in the cauldron, unfortunately they found parts of Mark's brain.
Oh my God.
Wow.
There was no thought. Initially there was some concern that maybe they were cannibalizing as well, but they couldn't confirm that, and everybody involved in the group denies that.
Now,
who knows?
Not to cut you off, but I'd put that picture of a cauldron. It looks like there's a bunch of sticks in it.
It does look like a bunch of sticks. Those are actually bones.
Wait a minute. Those
are actually bones.
looks like sticks to me.
Yeah.
You might want to look at this.
No, we picked a dark, and I wanted to pick a dark, but when you see the color photo of that, those are bones.
Wow, it looks like branches from a tree.
Yeah, those are bones. There may be some tree branches in there.
I think there's obviously some tree branches.
But a lot
Did
of
they use? I mean,
bones.
maybe they started the fire with those.
I don't know, but essentially, when there's a shot that I found where you look down into this, you can actually you can recognize a brain. Whether or not it's a human brain, I don't know, but I supposedly identified Mark's brain in the cauldron.
My God.
There's a chicken foot, there's some feathers, there's a turtle that's been, and all of this was boiled together as part of this ritual.
Oh my God.
That's insane.
Unfortunately,
though, man. Like once you
and only certain members of the cult were allowed to do the sacrifice. Costanzo, who's the leader, never got his hands dirty.
Of course not.
He had
typical cult leader.
Had his lieutenants, I guess, for lack of a better word, do the actual killing. They were marked with specific scarring on their bodies to be able to do these sacrifices, which is apparently a part of this religion. Like I said, I feel like he bastardized it to fit his needs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's normally what they do.
But anyway, from what the testimony is from the people actually involved in Mark's death, and this is brutal, guys, so bear with me. Mark was raped. Mark was marched out into a field, blindfolded and handcuffed, was hit in the back of the head with a machete. His brain was taken then and put in the cauldron. Mark had his legs, I can't say amputated, cut off at the knees. And that wasn't even a part of a ritual. That was just to make it easier to bury him.
God.
That's how crazy and cold.
How many people were in this cult?
Right. from what I could gather, it's hard to get a specific number, but from what I can gather, anywhere from 30 to 60 people.
Wow.
Dang.
And in the area they were in, a lot of the locals were such as a poor socioeconomic class that they were kind of being extorted by this guy to let us make these sacrifices for you so that you have good fields, good harvest,
Right,
good
for
healthy
sure.
family, you're safe, we don't have
Dude,
to
is that
take
not the
advantage
worst
of you.
horror
I
movie
know.
ever?
Yeah.
Like a whole town that you can't trust,
Yeah, exactly.
and you're getting
That's
sacrificed.
horrible.
Exactly.
What in the world?
In the month of trying to find Mark and figure out what was going on, obviously his parents went down to Matamoros and were investigating, and they said they actually felt like they got a lot of support and help from a lot of the local people in
Good.
trying to figure out what
Yeah.
happened. Once it was discovered, the cult kind of dispersed. A good portion of them were arrested immediately, but Costanzo and a female cult member and one of his lieutenants went on the run and jumped around. It's hard to say exactly, but they were supposedly seen in Florida, they were seen in Texas, they were seen back in Mexico City. Ultimately the law closed in on them in Mexico City, and it could have turned into a major shootout.
Right.
But I think at some point, for whatever reason, Costanzo kind of saw the writing on the wall. So he ordered his lieutenant to shoot him.
Of course, because he couldn't even do it himself.
Yeah, and this
Yeah.
female cult member. So basically, committed suicide so that he wouldn't have to face.
So did she, or did she
punishment.
end up going?
Andretti.
Oh, was she?
No, she wasn't the one. This was a different cult member that was actually with him. No, but they caught up with Sarah Maria later, and she was tried initially. She tried to play, oh, I'm just innocent in this.
Right.
I was just learning. I was get new initiate, but when the truth came out, she was found to play a much bigger role as kind of a hunter, I guess, so to speak. In this,
that's one of the most terrifying.
And you said they used her to lure the people
lure
into
some people
the group,
in.
right?
Yeah.
Do they do it like? I mean, we talked about how cults bring embracing love,
right?
That kind of thing, or do you know, or did they just basically kidnap them and knock them over the head and drag them to the cult?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it was more that kidnap and drag you in into. Oh yeah, that's not the picture that I initially looked at, but yeah,
those are sticks, for sure.
And they talk about the whole situation of is this being satanic and all that? I don't know.
Okay,
I just think that the whole situation is these are just crazy people on crazy drugs doing crazy things.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm looking at a picture you talked about. This isn't a color picture, but there's a cauldron.
Yeah, I think
those are sticks on the side of it, but you can see human remains inside, which I'm not going to show.
Yeah, please
and
don't.
a turtle.
Yeah.
Please don't.
And a turtle.
Yeah. So anyway, I just when I first heard about Mark's case, and I don't know how I missed it, because like I said initially, Mark kind of would have been one of my contemporaries in '89. I was close to the same age. I was in college at the same time, probably considering going spring breaking myself. Yeah. Thank goodness I never headed south. But yeah, it's remarkable to me that I didn't hear about this more at the time. And even in trying to follow up on where things are at now, it's
disturbing.
It's just disturbing. It's just truly disturbing. Yeah, that this, I mean, Mark was, like I said, they cut him off at the knees so that he would be easier to bury, and buried him in this mass grave with these other people that they had already, sacrificed and murdered and mutilated. They actually affixed a wire around his spine so that, excuse me, after he decomposed enough, they could pull the skeleton out, and then they would use the bones to make jewelry. you know,
my God.
and wear it,
God.
you know.
How long did this go on? I mean, as far as how many
Who
did they?
Who
Did,
thinks of that?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
and
okay,
then-
let's attach this wire to this guy's spine.
Yeah.
and just imagine how many victims there probably were that were never found.
Well, like I said, this was 15 bodies that they recovered at this ranch.
But I bet there was
Now,
more.
You know, this
Yeah.
guy hopped around. You know, this
Right.
guy hopped around different places. You know, there may be people.
Just
Have been people in
psychopath.
Cuba. There may have been people in Florida. There may have been, you know.
But you said there's
Right.
different branches, right? Of it, like around.
No, not this particular group that's responsible for Mark's death.
Sect.
They
Yeah.
they feel like, you know, a blessing and a curse that because of who Mark was and the investigation into it, that pretty much ended that particular group's activities. You know,
Right.
I mean, their leaders are either in prison or dead.
Right.
So most of the members who were directly involved in the murders are dead, and everything's, you know, kind of done. And I don't think anybody got anything less than 30 years.
Man,
A lot of them got 67, I believe.
Wow.
So
they picked the wrong gringo.
yeah,
Brought him down.
yeah, they did. Mark's parents started a foundation, of course, in his name that, you know, a lot of it is drug awareness and anti-drug movement, that kind of thing, you know, kind of like a DARE program,
for
SAFE
sure.
program, that kind of thing. And providing like summer programs and after school programs for kids to keep them
Man,
engaged and active and safe.
I bet the
You know.
I bet the town is just like so relieved too.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Under oppression
yeah, I
of
can't-
that.
I had a friend who lived in Brownsville for a while and you know would talk about this bridge, and this was, she lived there long before this incident happened, but to me it's just amazing to think about, you know, just across this bridge, just across the Rio Grande is this town where this insanity,
Yeah.
Yep.
you know, was going on.
It's prevailing.
And yeah,
Like
you know,
thriving.
and who knows, is, you know, did these guys get what they thought they were getting? Well, ultimately, no, you
right.
know,
Yeah.
but you know, is it cocaine fueled fantasies or, you know, heroin or whatever it was that they were doing that made them think that they were, you know, like you hear about with people in that drug high, that made them think that they were these invincible people that, you know, were bulletproof and the law couldn't literally,
Right.
they were invisible to the law is what they thought
Right.
when they do these sacrifices. So it, you know, I don't know. It just was such a sad, twisted, gruesome case, that it you know, it makes you feel so bad for Mark's family.
Yeah.
It makes you feel so bad for Mark.
Right.
God,
for
can
sure.
you imagine
No.
his last moments?
That's
And-
one of the most disturbing cases I've ever heard.
yeah,
know.
and
It really
and,
is.
and his friends,
Yeah.
you know, to be with Mark, you know, what kind of survivor's guilt they must still be living with.
Yeah.
you
Well, and we
know?
always talk about it too. Like, if what makes it even take it to a crazier level is that it wasn't just one crazy
Oh
person.
no,
It was a collective
I know.
effort to be crazy.
yeah.
That's what's scary.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
that's
you know,
terrifying.
you know, is it, are these people truly on board with this? Are some of them actually just kind of being extorted into this position of you're going to play our game?
Kind of like the Manson family.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too.
you know, really way more
Way
brutal.
worse.
Yeah, way worse.
Way
But again,
Absolutely.
you have a leader who notices that through intimidation and brutal like sacrifices
Right.
that he can harness more power
Mhm.
and money.
Well,
a lot of
total-
times south of the border
Yeah.
is protection.
Yeah.
So the more money
Manipulation.
he makes, you know,
Yeah.
really he can guarantee these people protection because he can pay them off on the other side.
Right,
His sane
right.
part of his mind.
Yeah.
Right.
And do some
Or-
just terrible things.
Yeah. Or, you know, to be just, you know, I would think if I saw some guy obviously sacrificing something that way, I was like, whatever you need, you
Yeah.
know, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Well, you see it with children
Yeah.
soldiers in
Yeah.
Africa,
Yeah.
right? Where they get them high on drugs and they make them
Yeah.
kill their friend or something.
Right.
And then they're in for
Right.
life.
Yeah.
You're in. Sorry.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
did that. You did
Right.
that. I saw you do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So
Yeah, Patrick McClure says, I grew up in San Diego. I'll never go south. I had to run for my life a few times.
wow.
And
Yeah, I got to be honest. I have never had
Times
a
in
desire
Tijuana.
to go.
Yeah.
I've never had a desire to go to Mexico.
Well,
I'm a cold weather girl.
You are.
anyway.
I know.
Well, we've talked
Well, when I was in Acapulco, that's, we did a show in Acapulco and they told us at the resort not to go out after dark.
Yeah.
And we didn't. So
I think we'll talk about it later, but we do need to do like a cartel episode at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some crazy stuff. Well, and I think we have activity in and around us. So, I mean, it could be interesting. Dude, this disappearance episode though, fascinating. And I hate to use that word, but I mean, just the way, like even the DB Cooper thing, man.
Yeah.
That's just such a drastic difference, that disappearance as to this one, obviously.
Right.
But it's still all the same, just crazy.
All
dude.
three that we talked about were different.
They were.
Yours was probably, hers was the most brutal for sure.
Oh God, it was the most brutal thing I've ever heard in my
yours
life.
was the most bizarre of where'd this guy go?
Yeah.
No
Walks into a
idea,
bar
dude.
and never comes out.
Sounds like the beginning of a joke.
I know.
It's not.
Yeah.
It really happened.
God.
Well, and even the guy running out of the airport just vanishes into the woods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be safe.
In all three of those cases, Garrett, were like river, forest, woods, kind of, because that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So, wow, that kind of goes along with that. Have
Oh,
you guys ever heard of this thing where they supposedly find staircases out in forest? And yeah, you should look it up sometime. It's
I will look
really,
it up right after this.
it's really bizarre and interesting that, and even rangers and stuff will say that you be walking through, remote areas of the forest, and all of a sudden out of nowhere is a staircase of some
I
type.
have a friend that's a ranger in Montana.
Yeah.
I'm going to call him.
Yeah.
so Garrett, read what Patrick put on the screen there. You'll get death threats. That's happened to other podcasts when they did anything cartel related.
Okay, Pat.
Ooh.
Okay, so never mind.
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank
We
you,
didn't
Pat.
say
Yeah.
cartel.
I
we
love-
said carpel.
Carpal tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since I'm a therapist, we'll talk about carpal tunnel.
Yeah. We get a million views.
I know, right? And we'll talk like this. Say
Carpal tunnel.
Say it's carpal tunnel.
Hey, it
Oh,
felt good to
man.
be back in the driver's seat here.
Yeah, it does.
Passenger seat.
I'm glad you're back. And
Me and Pamela are just in passenger seat while Keith does Keith things.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, doing
You nailed the intro today.
hectic
You
things.
nailed
over-
the intro today.
Oh well, it was.
It did it for you.
God, I know. Yeah. StreamYard should give me a.
I was going to say, obviously, this program is just miles superior to what we were using
Yep.
before.
It is. It's so much easier, and it's the thing was OBS was never reliable.
Yeah.
Remember when we did we do a screen share and there would be no audio, or there'd be like these all that stuttering, and then sometimes we disappeared, and
Dude, don't talk about disappearing.
Oh, I know, right?
Freaking moment. Because
I know.
hey, just circle back real quick before we get off here. Hey
Okay.
guys, I'm gonna say two things. First thing is tune in Tuesday. That show's gonna be bonkers.
Yes.
Mhm.
You guys show up for Tuesday's show. We're having Brandon Burton on. He's a very, very good psychic medium. He's agreed to take phone calls, or I think it'd have to be a phone call rather
He's
than put it in a
excited.
chat.
Yeah, definitely.
So don't be shy. You got their number down there.
Pat, call.
Yeah, well, not now.
No.
But-
Well, you
but-
can if you want, but
Well, you can.
No,
Yeah.
Tuesday, call Pat. Pat. That's what I'm
Yeah.
calling from here on out.
For now on, it's Pat.
Yeah. And then the second thing, I was just gonna mention this real fast. I meant to mention it, or I don't know if this is common. I think growing up in the 90s was a really weird time. There was a lot of stranger danger awareness going
Mhm.
on.
Yeah.
And I was always John, but a lot of weird cases.
Yeah.
So I was always really scared.
Yeah.
In fact, my brother, to get rid of me, he would be like, "Hey, I'll time you, run around the block." And one reason why I'd run so fast around the block is because I'd get about 10 houses down and think I was going to get kidnapped. So I was
Yeah.
always afraid I was going to get kidnapped,
Yeah.
right? And so doing this show is like, it was kind of bringing up some of those old feelings where I was like,
Mhm.
dang, this stuff is really scary. Just some of the cases I had to read over and stuff. So, man, if you really think about these cases, it's baffling. Oh, the DB Cooper one, that one's just
Mhm.
like amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
DB Cooper's.
I
now my
hope
hero.
everybody enjoyed that, because I know it's we have done old cases before and not got really good response. I mean, we did Black Dahlia.
Yep.
We
Zodiac.
did, well, yeah, and the Zodiac's pretty interesting. We
Yeah,
got a few.
Both of those were, I thought.
Yeah, we got
interesting.
some good views off that. But
We liked it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, but the
don't care
older
about you
the older
guys.
the cases we noticed, the less viewers, and it's
Yeah.
probably because of generation. You know,
Yeah. So
if we
people
got
aren't
younger
familiar.
people watching, they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
So I mean, the new cases that are really what people
But
want
the
to see.
DB Cooper
too.
case is perplexing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I enjoyed doing that.
Well,
Yes, thank you.
And it's almost a little bit of a feel good case because you
It
kind of
is.
want him to get away with it.
Exactly.
You know?
No, yeah, great point.
You want him to be the hero, and
Yeah.
like I said, I believe he survived.
And I think it's also important just the end on here is that every person that gets kidnapped doesn't end up disappeared forever or dead.
Right.
Like, so I don't want that to be the case or the takeaway from the show, because I was telling you right before this about the Chinese guy that after 25 years, he was abducted when he was 2. He was sold to a family that had no idea. I'm sure they had an idea that they probably shouldn't be buying a kid like that. But,
Yeah.
but you know, reunited with his parents 25 years later, who always kept looking for
I
him.
think that's actually a very common practice, unfortunately, over in
Right.
China. People
No, it
will
is.
buy,
Right. Yeah.
buy especially male children.
Right.
Yeah,
But-
they'll just kidnap them and
Even in
Yeah.
America, though,
Sad,
the
scary.
smart girl, the Dugar girl,
yeah.
like these
Mhm.
cases do at
Yeah.
some, get solved. So
It does. All right. Well, guys, thanks for showing up tonight. We appreciate it. Again, please, next Tuesday
What time?
at 7:15.
What time?
7:15
Central?
Central
Mountain?
time.
Central Time. And don't embarrass. I mean, my worst fear is like we get Brandon on. There's like 3 people watching. No one calls in.
get out of here.
You know, I mean, so we tell your friends to watch this. I mean,
this
come
is
on,
gonna be. Hey, this, you
you're
wanna-
getting a free reading.
he is gonna nail it too. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, dude.
He's really good.
I'm a skeptic about these things, and military medium Dean McMurray
He was
changed
good.
my mind, and now I Brandon is on point. I've listened to his stuff. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's great. So please tell all your friends. Everybody join us next Tuesday for that show. Like I said, he's going to do some readings, and you can get a free reading. I mean, this guy, he charges a few bucks for a reading.
Dude, yeah.
So
He's booked all the way through December.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a busy guy, so I think just it's very generous of him to even give
Absolutely.
us some time. And not only he doesn't even have to do readings, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And he agreed to do that. So I hope everybody joins in on Tuesday, 7:15 Central Time, and we'll see you
Good
then.
to see you guys again.
Me and Garrett might do a little come on live a few days just
Why
to
not?
remind
Let's
everybody,
do it, dude.
right? So all right.